In the eerie darkness of the forest, the electric saw in So Ayan's hand became completely meaningless. As she stared down from the high branch, a wave of overwhelming fear washed over her, causing her entire body to stiffen. She was utterly paralyzed, trapped by the terrifying presence lurking just below. A choked gasp escaped her as the memory flooded back. It was that night. Her terrified eyes locked onto the sinister figure below, a chilling smile playing on his lips as he committed a terrible act. This was the moment she witnessed the true nature of the dangerous man in the woods. A cold sweat beaded on her neck as the horrifying realization fully registered. This man was a dangerous individual. Her dread intensified as she looked down at the figure below. His complexion was unnaturally pale, not looking like that of a living person at all. The ominous figure tilted his head back, his golden eyes glowing in the darkness as they locked onto her hiding spot. A sinister grin played on his lips as he called out to her, his voice dripping with unnerving amusement, mockingly asking if she wasn't planning to run away. A sudden jolt shot through Ayan, yanking her from the chilling memory and back into the terrifying present. Her eyes blew wide with absolute dread. The dangerous individual from that night, the one who saw her in the woods, was now in her home. She was completely and utterly trapped. Fueled by a chilling dread, Ayan summoned a sudden burst of strength from deep within. With no time to think, she lashed out with all her might. Her arm connected squarely with the ominous figure before her, a desperate, powerful blow to create an opening for escape. A sickening crunch and a heavy impact echoed through the room as her desperate attack landed. Ayan reeled back, her face a mask of horrified shock as crimson droplets splattered across her, the terrifying consequence of her panicked, all-out blow against the dangerous individual before her. The chilling memory of that dreadful night explodes in her mind. A terrifying presence loomed over her, raising a roaring mechanical blade high into the air. With a guttural cry, the ominous figure brought the dangerous instrument down, a blur of unstoppable force descending right upon a paralyzed Ayan. Her eyes widen in absolute terror as the memory crashes down on her. This was her secret patient. This was their first, horrifying encounter. The moment she first met the dangerous individual who had been left in a deep, unresponsive state ever since that night. The aftermath of their sudden clash lay before her. Kwon Hyeon-jin was now just an unconscious form on the cold ground, his face marked by their intense encounter. This was the moment it all started. The incident that left him bedridden and unresponsive for 2 long, haunting years. This marks the beginning of their haunting tale, a story where beautiful things decay and only the most dangerous elements remain. Ayan has spun her web of lies, trapping herself with the very man from her nightmares. Now, the terrifying question is, who will be the one to break first? The moon casts an ethereal glow over a secluded, mist-laden forest. The tranquil silence is abruptly shattered by the deafening roar of machinery. Our heroine, So Ayan, stands clad in full work gear, her skilled hands maneuvering an electric pruner with masterful precision. The tool slices effortlessly through dense branches, sending a cascade of wood fragments scattering through the air. As the final branch tumbles to the ground, she powers down the device, exhaling deeply in satisfaction. Wiping the sweat from her brow, her face lights up with pride. Her mission is complete. But her work isn't over yet. With a determined glint in her eye, Ayan retrieves what appears to be a specialized nutrient injector. Carefully, she secures it to the tree's trunk, activating the flow of revitalizing essence. A soft, shimmering aura envelopes her as she steps back, declaring the procedure a success. Kneeling beside her towering patient, she murmurs soothingly, coaxing it to drink deeply. This woman speaks the language of the forest itself. Yet, just as she basks in her triumph, a harrowing vision grips her mind. A flashback to that same forest, now a stage for unspeakable terror. A hooded figure, Kwon Hyeon-jin, looms over a motionless form, his voice dripping with menace as he taunts the helpless man. Before a single plea can escape, a brutal impact echoes through the trees. Hyeon-jin's boot strikes with bone-chilling force. From the shadows, Ayan watches in sheer, paralyzing horror, her mind screaming that she's witnessed something unforgivable. She must escape. She must alert the authorities. But fate has other plans. A sharp snap beneath her boot betrays her presence. The silence is obliterated. A terrified gasp escapes her lips as the hooded figure freezes mid-motion, his attention snapping toward the sound. Her pulse hammers as her gaze drops, Another motionless figure lies at his feet. This isn't just a crime, it's a pattern. Panic surges through her veins, rooting her in place as he slowly turns, and his hood falls back, revealing a smirk that chills her to the core. His eyes, glowing with predatory amusement, lock onto hers. With a voice like dripping venom, he muses, "Are you certain you don't want to run?" That's all the prompting she needs. Adrenaline ignites her limbs. Yayan spins on her heel, her breath ragged as she plunges into the suffocating darkness, branches clawing at her skin. Behind her, a low, wicked laugh curls through the air. The hunt has only just begun. Gasping for air, Yayan fumbles with her phone, her trembling fingers dialing emergency services. Between ragged breaths, she shrieks her location, the mountain behind Spruce Hospital, and chokes out a warning about a man concealing 2 unconscious forms. The dispatcher demands her name, but all she can sob is, "I'm not going to make it." Disaster strikes. Her foot catches on an unseen root. She crashes to the earth, her phone skittering out of reach. Before she can move, an ominous shadow looms over her. Kwon Hyeon-jin stands there, her phone dangling tauntingly between his fingers. His smirk is bone-chilling as he murmurs, "You dropped this, along with your chance to leave." He leans closer, his whisper laced with dark amusement. "Hold on tight." Yayan's mind races, a lifetime of staying unseen, of seeking peace. Is this how it ends? In a final, desperate act, she lunges for the roaring tool in his grip. The blade swings down in a deadly arc, but nothing happens. Stunned silence. Yayan remains completely untouched. Both she and Chai-woo stare in utter disbelief. The impossible has just occurred. Bam! The blade connects, but not with her. In a shocking twist, Kwon Hyeon-jin throws himself in front of her, taking the brutal strike meant for her. The machinery tears into his arm, sending him collapsing to the ground with a gritted curse. Yayan and the true assailant are frozen. What kind of twisted savior is this? Her mind reels. The menacing figure she fled from just shielded her with his own body. The scene snaps to the present, Yayan's bizarre reality as a tree physician. She calmly informs a bewildered client that his beloved tree suffers from digestive blockage. The man gapes as she explains, "It simply can't process waste properly." Elsewhere, a school principal pleads desperately. This tree is the heart of their campus, a symbol of growth for the children. Yayan reassures him the treatment is simple, but as she examines the roots, his suspicious associate smirks. His inner monologue drips with deceit. He'll let her fix the tree, only to sabotage it again and demand compensation. But Yayan is 10 steps ahead. Casually, she asks if the principal applied something to the tree. His face drains of color. She circles him like a predator, listing the illegal construction waste buried beneath the roots: tile fragments, hardened cement, suffocating plastic. Her voice is icy. "Cutting corners on disposal? Now you'll pay double." The principal panics, begging for mercy, but Yayan isn't finished. She turns, her smile razor sharp. "I'm a doctor who speaks for the trees, and what I love most is removing those who pretend to protect them." Tossing him her hospital's card, she storms off, her scooter roaring to life. Her phone rings. It's the hospital director. Her voice is steel. 5 minutes, or I'm jamming your office door shut myself." Then, a noise from the second floor. Her blood turns to ice. The director stammers, insisting she's mistaken, but Yayan already called a locksmith. Her voice shakes with terror as she screams into the phone, "Don't open that door." Too late, the line goes dead. Behind that forbidden door lies Kwon Hyeon-jin, the slumbering storm. Inside the sealed room, the source of her nightmares rests in a hospital bed. But as the lock clicks open, his eyelids twitch. A single blink, 2 years of stillness, shattered. The most dangerous patient is waking up, and Yayan's greatest fear has just become inescapable reality. Our chapter starts off on a bright, sunny day as tree doctor So Ayan's peaceful routine is about to be violently shattered. Back at the Gamunbi Tree Hospital, her stern department head has finally lost her patience with a mysterious locked door on the second floor. Having brought in a handyman, she coldly gives the order to dismantle the lock and force their way in. Just as the power drill whirs to life, preparing to breach the door, Ayan bursts into the hallway in a full-blown panic. She desperately screams for them to wait, trying to physically guide the confused handyman away while offering to cover any costs. The department head, however, is furious. She confronts Ayan, venomously listing all the absurd excuses she's used to keep them out, from blocked water veins to drying chili peppers. Cornered and flustered, Ayan can only stammer, because the secret she's hiding behind that door is the man who once tried to murder her. The department head scoffs, demanding to know how Ayan can't trust her after working together for so long, sarcastically adding that she wouldn't even steal any gold bars Ayan might have hidden. Ayan, sweating bullets, wishes it were just gold bars as she tries to laugh it off, insisting it's just an empty room that needs ventilating. But her internal monologue screams in terror. Her life would be over if they saw the man inside. Suddenly, the scene fractures into a blood-red nightmare. A disoriented Kwon Hyeon-jin struggles to make sense of his surroundings, weakly questioning who and where he is. His last memory flashes, being behind the mountain, where Ayan first found him. The memory slams into the present as Hyeon jolts upright in bed, clutching his chest in utter confusion as a crimson aura explodes around him. He's awake. A torrent of blood-red memories crashes down on Ayan, each fragment more horrifying than the last. She sees Chaewoo's body plunging backward into a crimson pool as menacing surgical tools break the surface. Her own horrified gasp echoes in her ears as she questions what this waking nightmare is. Suddenly, a cold, detached voice cuts through her panic, demanding to know why she did it. The memory solidifies into a chilling scene. Ayan is bound to a chair in a gruesome room, facing a man in a tailored suit who calmly smokes. He then reveals the gut-wrenching truth. The person she nearly killed on the mountain was his younger brother. The realization hits her like a physical blow. This man is the murderer's equally insane sibling. Desperately, she tries to stammer out an explanation, insisting it was all a misunderstanding, an act of self-defense. Bound and terrified, Ayan blurts out her desperate justification. His brother wasn't the victim. He was in the middle of burying someone. But the man simply exhales a plume of smoke, his expression utterly unmoved as he questions the big deal about burying a single person. Ayan's mind short-circuits with horror. His voice remains chillingly calm as he adds that he was merely annoyed his fun was interrupted. A cold sweat breaks out across Ayan's skin. She realizes he doesn't operate by any common sense. Her denials become a frantic torrent as she tries to pin the attack on the person Chaewoo was burying, swearing it's the truth. But her captor coldly dismisses the lie. His voice drops, laced with menace, as he states that his brother's senses are far too sharp to be caught off guard. Ayan finally crumbles, admitting she did hit Chaewoo with a saw, but only because her life was in danger. Tears streamed down Ayan's face as her mind raced in a frantic loop, desperately wondering what she could possibly do. She had to get out of here, no matter what, but how? Across from her, the man coolly extinguished his cigarette against a steel drum, the ember hissing out of existence. He then leaned in with terrifying speed, his presence invading her space. He addressed her by name, his voice a low, chilling whisper, stating that whether she hit his brother with a stone or a saw was completely irrelevant. The details didn't matter. After all, he mused, making her the perfect perpetrator wouldn't be difficult. His only desire, he revealed, was for someone to pay the price, as he had just seen his younger brother fall into a vegetative state. The word struck Ayan with impossible force. A vegetative state? That murderer? But as the initial shock faded, a cold, sickening realization took its place. She knew that was wrong, and concluded with absolute despair that she would not be making it out of there alive. Just as Ayan's hope completely vanished, her captor's voice sliced through the suffocating dread. Instead of a death sentence, he was proposing a deal. He leaned forward, a twisted smile playing on his lips, assuring her that if she acted a little smarter, she could leave safely. The unexpected offer hung in the air, a fragile lifeline in a sea of despair. Ayan's head lifted, her voice a trembling whisper as she questioned if he truly meant a deal. Pleased by her quick understanding, the man nodded to a subordinate who promptly unlocked her handcuffs with a sharp click. As she rubbed her raw, freed wrists, the man laid out his insane terms. He would catch the real culprit, but in exchange, she must take care of his comatose little brother. Her eyes widened in sheer, unadulterated shock as he added the chilling specifics. She was to ensure Chaewoo never left Wadham, and it would be even better if she could bind his feet. The deal was sealed with a final, chilling gaze from Chaewoo's brother, his face cast in a hellish red glow as he cemented Ayan's fate. Then, time itself seemed to fall away. Too long, agonizing years passed. The scene transforms to a quiet coastal town shrouded in the dead of night, where the rhythmic crash of waves is the only sound breaking the silence. This is Waitum, Ayan's new prison. As a grandfather clock chimes the heavy, lonely hour of midnight, each toll echoes through the silent home. The old wooden stairs creak under Ayan's weary steps as she makes her nightly pilgrimage. The bedroom door groans open, revealing a room bathed in the sterile, blue light of humming medical monitors. There lies Kwon Hyeon-jin, her would-be murderer, now a helpless figure tethered to life by wires. Ayan stands motionless, her face a mask of profound exhaustion, forever watching over her warden, her patient, her irreversible mistake. As Ayan stared down at the still figure in the bed, she reflected on her bleak existence. For 2 years, the man had been like a plant, alive but unmoving on the second floor of her prison. The only piece of information she possessed about her patient, her would-be murderer, was his name, Kwon Hyeon-jin. Memories of the deal's aftermath assaulted her, the crime scene scrubbed impossibly clean, the police finding her for a false report, the rapid construction of this second floor, and the constant presence of medical staff. His brother's threat to frame her echoed in her mind, a promise she knew he could effortlessly keep. This meant she had one horrifying job: keep this killer safe in Waitum. As this crushing weight settled upon her, her hand instinctively rose to her neck. Kwon Hyeon-jin, she breathed, her voice a fragile whisper. A single, desperate prayer formed in her heart. Please, don't ever wake up. Sitting by his bedside, Ayan clasped her hands together, her face a mask of pure desperation. She pleaded silently, a frantic mantra she had repeated every single day for 2 agonizing years. He must not wake up. Please, she begged the silent room, so she could finally live a quiet life. It was a selfish, fervent prayer born from constant, suffocating fear. Ghostly white outlines of thorny rose stems seemed to float in the darkness, a constant reminder of her beautiful, painful prison. Her entire life now hinged on his continued stillness. But just as her daily prayer concluded, the quiet was shattered. Down on the bed, a single finger on Kwon Hyeon-jin's hand twitched with an unnatural jerk. The slight, horrifying movement broke 2 years of peace, signaling the catastrophic end of Ayan's fragile hope and the beginning of her waking nightmare. Back at the struggling Spruce Tree Hospital, the mood is deceptively bright. So Ayan's work is abruptly interrupted by her manager, who excitedly shoves a phone in her face. On the screen is a picture of a handsome man, whom the manager proudly identifies as the heir to the powerful Seoul landscaping company. When asked for her opinion, Ayan dryly suggests he might be a little young for her manager's taste. But the matchmaking attempt is not for the manager, it's for Ayan. The manager explains the Seoul heir is in Korea for a marriage meeting, calling it a golden opportunity. The light-hearted tone vanishes as she reveals their dire situation. They've lost all their major contracts to the rival Donghua hospital and are on the verge of bankruptcy. This marriage, she insists, is their only way out. The manager's voice grows heavy, recounting their downfall. Their ruthless rival, Donghua Hospital, had made a grand entrance with a massive new facility, aggressively absorbing every single contract in the region. But for Ayan, the name Donghua conjures a far more sinister memory, a terrifying figure peering down at her from the darkness, his presence radiating pure menace. Snapping back to the present, she hears her manager's desperate plea to reclaim what was stolen. Lost in her haunting thoughts, Ayan wearily asks how they could possibly do that. With a sudden burst of energy, the manager shoves the phone forward again, proudly revealing she's already secured a spot for the meeting. But Ayan's response is ice cold. She flatly refuses, declaring she's no gold digger and the entire scheme is way too sketchy. The manager sputters in disbelief before erupting in pure fury. The manager's rage finally boils over. She lunges forward, grabbing a stunned Ayan by the shoulders. She spits that Ayan doesn't have the personality for gold digging, so she needs to stop being so dramatic and just make a good impression. Utterly bewildered, Ayan stammers, asking how she even got this inside scoop. The manager coolly reveals her secret weapon, a direct line to the chairman of Seoul, an old co-worker from her past. She then takes on a worldly, lecturing tone, declaring that a good spouse isn't found by fate, but chosen with foresight. But Ayan has had enough. Walking away into the sun-drenched garden, she makes a silent vow. A spouse isn't an opportunity. For her, it's poison. All she wants is to live peacefully, tending to her plants, with no more dangerous surprises. As the sun filters through the leaves, so Ayan allows herself a moment of fleeting peace, wishing for a life as simple as this. But a grim thought cuts through the tranquility. She supposes hiding a man with a dangerous past in her house doesn't exactly count as nothing happening. Looking towards her home, she remembers the initial terror. For 2 years, she lived on a knife's edge, unable to relax, certain he would awaken at any moment. But eventually, the unchanging days dulled her fear into a strange, fragile relief. That night, as the clock ticks past midnight, she begins her nightly ritual. Every evening, she ascends the stairs, a silent pilgrimage to the second floor. She does it to make sure her tomorrow will be as safe as today, offering a single, desperate prayer that he remains unresponsive. But as she peers into the darkness, her eyes widen in absolute, undiluted horror. Her prayer goes unanswered. The bed, which had held his unconscious form for 2 agonizing years, is now empty. The sheets are thrown aside in the eerie blue glow of the medical monitors. Ayan stumbles back, her mind refusing to process the scene. He's gone. Panic claws at her throat as a bone-chilling memory flashes through her mind. His cold voice from the past, promising to make her the perfect culprit. Shaking with terror, she knows she can't let him just disappear. She has to find him, no matter what. But just as that desperate thought forms, an iron grip clamps down on her shoulder from behind. Time freezes. Slowly, she turns, her blood running cold as she looks up into the shadowy, menacing face of Kwon Hyeon-jin. A hand lunges for her head, and one horrifying realization consumes her. This is it. This is how she meets her end. A piercing scream shatters the silence. But her scream is cut short as Chai-woo slams her back onto the bed, sending a tray of sharp medical instruments crashing to the floor. A wave of pure disbelief crashes over Ayan. This is impossible. He's been in an unconscious state for 2 years. His muscles should be completely useless. Yet, his grip is like iron, pinning her down with terrifying strength. A choked sob escapes her as she struggles, begging him to let go. Realizing that raw panic won't save her, she fights to stay calm. Her mind races, desperately searching for an out. Speaking in a shaky voice, she tells the ominous figure that he must be confused after waking up so suddenly. She promises to explain everything, to call a doctor to help him, if he'll just release his hold first. But her frantic plea is met with chilling silence as he only leans closer. A low, threatening voice cuts through her terror, ordering her not to make a sound and to answer him. His words are icy, laced with a dangerous confusion as he asks if she was the one who locked him up. Ayan is stunned speechless, but his next question is even more harrowing. He wonders aloud if perhaps he was the one who had imprisoned her. The horrifying thought sends a fresh wave of panic through Ayan. What kind of life did this man live? She frantically explains that he was a patient, unconscious for 2 years, and just now waking up, pleading with him to calm down. But her desperate words are met with brutal finality as he forcefully shoves her head back into the pillow, his cold, piercing gaze boring down on her from the shadows. Trapped beneath him, Ayan's mind fixates on his terrifying eyes. They glow with a predatory light, like a beast's in the dead of night. Utterly empty, bottomless pits staring back at her. As the name Kwon Hyeon-jin echoes in her terrified thoughts, he coolly confirms it must belong to him. He leans closer, his chilling presence suffocating her, and demands to know if she is someone important to him. Before she can answer, his hand darts down, snatching a sharp syringe from the floor. He presses the cold point against her throat, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. Is she someone to protect, or someone he wouldn't hesitate to get rid of? In that horrifying moment, the unbelievable truth hits her. He has absolutely no memory of who he is, or who she is. Pinned beneath the menacing figure of Kwon Hyeon-jin, so Ayan freezes as he poses a chilling question. Was she someone important to him, or someone he wouldn't hesitate to remove permanently? A terrifying choice. But as his cold eyes search her face, a desperate realization dawns on her. He truly doesn't remember. This could be her only chance. Her mind flashes with images of survival, a resilient tree clinging to life. This was a battle, and she finally understood how to fight it. With a sudden burst of strength, she yanks him down by his collar, crying out his name. She forces a pained expression, claiming his harsh words deeply upset her. When he presses, demanding to know her importance, she declares with all the conviction she can muster that their connection is incredibly close, far more intimate than he could possibly imagine. Her frantic explanation tumbles out, claiming their relationship is a tangled, complicated affair that can't just be severed at will. But this seems to trigger something awful within him. In a flash, his hand shoots out, seizing a fistful of her hair and yanking her back as a pained groan escapes his lips. The aggression subsides into a storm of confusion. Leaning in close, he demands to know why she's trembling so fiercely. His mind is suddenly assaulted by haunting fragments, cruel, degrading taunts echoing from a past he can't grasp. Overwhelmed, he clutches his head, tormented by these awful words. Seizing the moment, Ian frantically tries to rewrite their history, insisting he was a kind man who even gifted her a necklace. A terrifying flashback reveals the horrifying truth. The necklace was a thin, sharp wire he wrapped around her throat with a sinister smile. With a cold, analytical gaze, Kwon Hyeon-jin twisted her words into a damning conclusion. He mused that if he had truly been so wonderful in the past, her current trembling could only mean his version of kindness was actually just that awful. He shook his head slowly, concluding he must have been a true monster to have conditioned her so thoroughly. Panic seized Ian's heart. He had it all backward. She was the one trying to rewrite history. Frantically, she insisted that he couldn't treat her carelessly, that the man she knew was never rough, never threatening like this. But Chaiwoo leaned in, his eyes piercing through her desperate fabrication. His voice dropped to a sinister whisper, posing a terrifyingly simple question. Why wouldn't he do something bad? Before she could answer, his hand shot forward, his fingers wrapping around her throat as a strange sound escaped her lips. With his fingers tightening around her throat, Ian scrambles for an answer, any answer. In a burst of pure desperation, she blurts out that it's because of a legal mandate. Chaiwoo just stares, the single word law, hanging in the air as his grip remains firm. Her mind races, pleading with itself to make the lie make sense. Suddenly, the memory of an older woman's advice about choosing a partner through reason cuts through the panic. This was it, her one and only lifeline. Looking him dead in the eye, Ian declares that he must remain quiet. She explains that if he were to harm her, it would be a grave act against his own kin, a minimum restraint he must abide by. Then, she drops the ultimate, irreversible lie, announcing that she is Kwon Hyeon-jin's wife, a status she desperately needs to survive. The word wife hangs in the air, shattering the tension. Kwon Hyeon-jin's intense glare falters, his grip loosening as he whispers a single, disbelieving what? Suddenly, a wave of agony crashes over him. He clutches his head, a guttural groan escaping his lips before he collapses forward, consumed by a silent, tormenting scream. Acting on pure instinct, Ian catches his unconscious form, her shock turning to alarm as she cries out his name. That very night, with the dangerous man limp in her arms, her irreversible lie began to take root. In the fertile ground of his shattered memory, a beautiful but terrifying garden bloomed from a single, perilous seed. A deadly seed had just been sown, trapping her in its sinister beauty. Back on the job, Ian faces a new, emotional case. A distraught woman confirms the worst. Her precious tree was struck by lightning. Wringing her hands in despair, she explains it was planted for her son, who is now away in the military, and she fears this is a terrible omen for his safety. Ever the professional, Ian gets to work, placing a gloved hand on the tree's deep, splintered wound. It's a serious injury, but her expert eyes spot a glimmer of hope. The roots are still intact. With quiet confidence, she declares that the tree can recover. Her colleague whispers a warning, reminding her that if the treatment fails, all blame will fall on her. But Ian stands firm. For the sake of the son, they must try everything. Just as she begins outlining her plan, her phone buzzes, interrupting the moment. The doctor's words land like a ton of bricks. With Chaewa's condition understood, they'll be moving him back to Ian's home. Her blood runs cold as she stumbles back, frantically telling him to wait. She just needs to be absolutely clear. He isn't in a vegetative state. but no one has any idea when the ominous figure will wake up again. The doctor confirms this is the grim reality. But instead of despair, a wave of pure, unadulterated joy washes over Ayan. A bright, dazzling smile breaks across her face as she thanks him profusely, promising to work even harder now. The doctor, utterly bewildered by her sudden euphoria, can only mumble a confused yes before hanging up. He concludes the immense stress has shattered her emotional state. Meanwhile, Ayan turns back to her clients, brimming with newfound confidence, promising she'll save the precious tree. The doctor can only pity the poor woman, until a sudden realization dawns on his face. The doctor's face contorts in a moment of pure, unadulterated panic. A crucial detail he'd forgotten slams into his mind. Sleeping Beauty syndrome often comes with a terrifying list of side effects, including aggression and unpredictable behavior. He tries to rationalize it, deciding he'll just tell Ayan later. After all, it's not his problem. He just takes the money and does his job. But as he walks away, a chilling memory refuses to fade. He recalls leaning over the newly awakened Chaiwoo, desperately trying to get a response. The patient had finally whispered something, but it wasn't what the doctor expected. The ominous figure leaned in close and uttered a phrase that sent shivers down his spine, a plea that eerily mirrored Ayan's own dark wish. "Please, don't wake up." The shocking connection clicks into place. For an entire month, So Ayan was consumed by a single, all-encompassing regret. She replayed the moment over and over, pounding her fists into her pillow in pure frustration. How could she have been so desperate as to tell such an insane lie? Claiming to be the wife of Kwon Chaiwoo, the very man who represented the greatest threat she had ever known. It was a panicked declaration, born from the terror of his sudden awakening. Now, hearing he'd been moved back to the second floor, a sliver of her old hope returns. She cautiously types the code to his room, praying to find him in the same peaceful, unconscious state she had guarded for 2 years. The lock clicks open, and the door slowly creaks inward, revealing nothing but a silent, ominous darkness. The room is empty. A cold dread washes over So Ayan as her eyes sweep across the vacant bed, bathed in the ghostly blue glow of the humming medical monitors. He's gone. The man she'd guarded for 2 long years, the terrifying presence she'd tried to contain, has simply vanished. A shaky breath escapes her lips, a mix of disbelief and pure fury. That absolute scoundrel. Her panic explodes into action, and she tears out into the night, her footsteps pounding against the pavement. His name is a desperate cry swallowed by the darkness as she frantically searches for Kwon Chaiwoo. She demands to know where that deadweight went, her mind racing. He couldn't have gotten far in his condition, right? But as she doubles over, gasping for air, a sickening realization hits her. She has already searched everywhere, gasping for breath. So Ayan's mind spirals, consumed with the terrifying question of what will happen if she can't find him. Just as utter despair sets in, her eyes catch a trail of ominous crimson stains leading away from the road. Her heart hammers against her ribs as she follows the disturbing path, which is littered with scattered feathers, into the dark woods. The trail ends abruptly, revealing a scene straight from a nightmare. There he is, Kwon Chaiwoo, looking utterly composed amidst the chaos. His hospital gown is marred with deep red marks, and in his hand, he clutches the lifeless form of a bird. He looks up, and his gaze locks onto hers, a chilling, predatory glint in his golden eyes. A wave of pure terror crashes over So Ayan, rooting her to the spot. A silent scream rips through So Ayan's mind, ordering her to get a grip. This was her mess. She had to be the one to drag this man back to safety. Forcing a brave face, her voice trembles as she calls out to Kwon Chaiwoo, questioning how he could possibly be out here in his fragile state. She begs him to put the lifeless creature down and come back inside, but her words hang in the air, met only by his cold, unnerving stare. Then, the unimaginable happens. He lifts the bird to his mouth and sinks his teeth into it with a sickening, violent tear. The horrific act shatters Ayan's composure. Is amnesia really the only thing wrong with him? As crimson marks splatter across his face, he finally speaks, his voice a low rumble. He asks her where she's been. A low rumble escapes him as he reveals that her face was the only thing he could remember upon waking. He explains that when he tried to find her, the door wouldn't open. Ayan's mind short-circuits. He smashed the door down, just to find her? The terrifying realization hits her. He remembers her face. Panic gives way to a desperate plan. He's unstable, she tells herself. This is manageable. Forcing a disarmingly sweet smile, Ian explains that he must be very confused. She introduces herself as his doctor, telling him he's been unwell for a very long time, which is causing his mind to play tricks on him. It's all just a dream, she insists with unnerving cheerfulness, promising that if he just goes back to rest, he'll feel so much better. Kwon Hyeon-jin considers her lie, a flicker of something unreadable in his golden eyes. He scoffs softly, his voice a low rumble. A dream, huh? With a dismissive flick of his wrist, he drops the mangled bird to the ground. Right, he continues, his tone dripping with a chilling sarcasm. If this were real, I probably wouldn't even be standing here. Ian's mind races, completely baffled by his cryptic statement. Before she can react, he reveals that he spent his entire time unconscious, lost in vivid dreams. Her blood runs cold as he delivers the final, soul-crushing blow, his voice a possessive murmur that echoes through the silent woods. He confesses he was dreaming. With my wife. The world stops turning. The horrifying realization hits her like a physical blow. He thinks she's his wife. Kwon Hyeon-jin shatters her fragile hope, calmly stating that he's not confused in the slightest. As he takes a menacing step forward, crimson stains marking his feet, his voice drops to a possessive murmur. He declares that he understands everything perfectly now. He has a wife, he reveals, and she's standing right in front of him, trying to flee with a dangerous desperation. Ian's mind screams at her to run, to deny his words, to do anything to break free. But she's completely paralyzed, ensnared by the thorny vines of her own devastating lie. The trap she set is now closing in, and she can't move an inch. As his ominous shadow falls over her, he leans in close, his voice a low growl demanding to know her name. Frozen by his chilling demand, Ian's mind races. Should she give him her real name? Her hesitation only darkens his expression, and he warns her that he won't ask a third time. With a strangled cry, she finally blurts it out. So Leon. The name hangs in the air as he repeats it softly, a possessive satisfaction creeping into his tone. Suddenly, his grip tightens, and he yanks her closer, accusingly asking if she'd decided her husband was too much to handle and was trying to abandon him. She frantically tries to explain that she was only worried about how terrifying it must be for him, but he sees right through the pathetic excuse. Mocking her supposed consideration, he warns her never to pull that kind of nonsense with him again. The trap has snapped shut. With a menacing softness, Kwon Hyeon-jin questions if she was planning to abandon her spouse, trapping her with the very lie she created. Ian is completely frozen, ensnared by his chilling gaze. He then confesses with a strange certainty that he must truly be her husband, because the moment she tried to leave, he nearly lost his mind completely. Her internal monologue screams in defiance. His reaction isn't love, it's just his dangerous nature. He covers his eye, a faint glimmer appearing as he murmurs her name, concluding that he must have loved her very deeply. The words trigger a horrifying memory, a silent scream echoing in her mind. He didn't love her, he tried to end her. She realizes she's been completely swept up in his twisted narrative. But a sliver of hope cuts through the terror. He has one massive weakness, his amnesia. This means she still holds the reins, probably. Desperate to de-escalate, she suggests they go home to treat his serious injuries. The word home stops him, and a slow, unsettling smile spreads across his face. Kwon Hyeon-jin's unsettling smile widened, his eyes glinting darkly as he leaned in. He corrected her with a chilling possessiveness, clarifying that she must mean their newlywed home. The words slammed into Ian, and a cold dread washed over her. Trapped in his embrace, she could only muster a pained, trembling smile, sweat beading on her forehead as his ominous presence suffocated her. She choked out a faint agreement, the sound barely a whisper against the chirping crickets that filled the tense night air. In that moment, a horrifying realization dawned on her. The control she thought she had was a complete illusion. Was she already holding a broken steering wheel? Her desperate gamble for survival had already veered completely off course, and she was just along for the terrifying ride. Under a star-dusted night sky, they finally arrive at what Ian is now forced to call home. Slumping in utter exhaustion, she can barely stand as they step inside the desolate building. Towering over her is Kwon Hyeon-jin, his hospital pajamas covered in ominous crimson stains from the earlier chaos. He notes her fatigue with an unnerving calm, a faint smirk playing on his lips. Ayan snaps, her patience worn thin, retorting that his incessant questioning during their frantic escape is the sole reason for her state. The memory of the rattling journey echoes, his constant probing about their lives, their ages, and why she spoke to him so formally. Panicked, she had simply claimed to be mirroring him. Back in the present, she mutters that she should have just walked, but he scoffs at the absurd idea. Desperate for a moment alone, she urges him to clean up while she fetches a first aid kit. As she hurries away, his piercing, unreadable gaze follows her, tracking her every move with silent intensity. Returning with the first aid kit, Ayan's hands tremble, the contents rattling softly in the oppressive silence. She kneels before Kwon Hyeon-jin, who watches her from the edge of the bed, his imposing frame casting long shadows in the dim light. As she gently cleans the serious injuries on his knuckles, she's unnerved by his complete lack of reaction. The antiseptic should be agonizing, but he doesn't even flinch. Instead, his gaze bores into her with a chilling, predatory intensity that makes her skin crawl. It feels like a hunter sizing up its next meal. Forcing down her rising panic, she hastily finishes bandaging his hand and stands to make her escape, explaining that the doctors will handle things tomorrow. But as she clicks off the bedside lamp, his voice cuts through the darkness, low and smooth. He simply asks why she's leaving. Utterly confused, Ayan turns back, only for him to deliver the one question she dreaded. We're married. Why aren't we sleeping together? The mattress creaks ominously as he shifts closer, leaving her frozen in sheer terror. Trapped beside him, Ayan's mind short-circuits. She has zero imagination for this kind of fabrication and knows his relentless questions will shatter her flimsy story. Lying stiffly, she stammers that they just jumped straight into things. But Chai-woo is a predator toying with his meal. He easily cuts through her flustered excuse, bluntly asking if she means it was just a hookup. Before she can deny it, he leans closer, his voice a low, suggestive whisper as he paints a vivid, false memory of them testing their compatibility and going all in once it clicked. A dangerous smirk plays on his lips as he laments his amnesia. Mortified, Ayan tries to protest, but he's already spinning a new tale, casting himself as the smooth talker who tempted the shy, inexperienced girl into his bed. The intimacy of his words is suffocating. In a desperate gamble to shut him down, she blurts out the one thing she thinks will repel him. They weren't compatible in that way. The playful atmosphere vanishes. The mattress creaks as he looms over her, his stare turning ice cold as he demands to know which one of them was bad at it. Kwon Hyeon-jin lets out a short, incredulous laugh, his bandaged hand flying to his face as he freezes. The revelation seems to rock him more than his amnesia ever did. The playful predator vanishes, and his gaze darkens with a sudden, serious intensity as he demands to know what the problem was and where it all went wrong. Ayan's mind screams, frantically digging through 32 years of life experience for any excuse that will stick. A desperate spark of inspiration strikes. With feigned sorrow, she explains that they simply weren't the right fit. She lays it on thick, claiming she could barely tell anything was happening and never understood the appeal. But instead of the expected anger, he leans closer, a soft, almost fond look in his eyes. He smoothly counters that she always used to say she didn't care for such things. He recalls that was what he liked so much about her, her calm, zen nature, almost like a monk. Stunned, Ayan latches onto this new narrative, weaving a tale of a perfectly platonic relationship that just worked. But just as she exhales in relief, he asks why she would spend 2 years caring for a man she wasn't even intimate with. A low chuckle rumbles from his chest as he concludes she must have truly loved him, far more than he ever realized. She realizes with a sinking heart that he's never going to drop this fantasy, but selling this lie is the only way to survive. Ayan's mind screams in pure panic. This wasn't part of the plan at all. The lie was a desperate shield, but it has backfired spectacularly, trapping her in an impossibly intimate scenario. She trembles under Kwon Hyeon-jin's intense gaze as he leans closer, his voice a low rumble. He asks if her unease is because he feels different now, because he isn't the husband she remembers. Stammering, she instinctively pulls back, but he suddenly softens his approach, promising not to corner her or force anything. He vows to act just like the husband she knew, asking only that she stays with him. And so, Ayan finds herself lying rigid as a board, sharing a bed with the terrifying presence who haunts her nightmares. Her internal pleas for him to just sleep are ignored as he begins his quiet interrogation. First, he asks how he ended up in a coma. Thinking fast, she weaves a tale about a trekking accident. His follow-up is swift. When did they get married? 2 years ago, she says. A strange thoughtfulness crosses his face as he realizes she was stuck with a comatose husband from day one. But the brief reprieve shatters as he immediately asks how long they dated, sending her mind spiraling once more. Lying rigid in the darkness, Ayan's hands clasped together in a desperate, silent prayer. If there was a God for the trees she so lovingly cared for, she pleaded with them now, begging for this man to fall into a deep, sound sleep for at least a week. Her mind flashes back to the interrogation that had just ended, his relentless probing about her lie. He had leaned in close, his voice a low threat as he demanded to know what she meant by awkward. Was he not good? Did she need more preparation? Or was he just completely inexperienced? Trapped and terrified, she could only stammer that she didn't know. Then, in a stroke of panic genius, she blurted out the most ego-crushing thing she could imagine. He just didn't last very long. The effect was instantaneous. His predatory confidence vanished, replaced by sheer shock. He'd turned away with a click of his tongue, cursing his past self. Seeing that flash of temper only fueled her terror, and her silent prayer intensified, begging for him to be put to sleep for as long as possible. Outside, an owl hooted, oblivious to the desperate plea echoing inside the room. A new day dawns at the Evergreen Arbor Center as the morning sun streams into a lavishly decorated room. So Ayan stirs from her slumber, murmuring softly as her eyelashes flutter open. For a blissful, fleeting moment, it feels like a peaceful morning. But then she sees him. Lying beside her, propped up with a gentle smile, is Kwon Hyeon-jin. He's already awake, his gaze fixed on her as he softly asks if she slept well. It's a picture-perfect domestic scene, but the illusion shatters when we see the cold, sterile medical equipment surrounding their bed. Suddenly, a terrified scream rips through the quiet room. Ayan bolts upright, her face a mask of pure horror as she recoils from him. Her mind races with a single, panicked thought. Why is he awake? Utterly bewildered by her reaction, Chaiwoo simply calls her name. Ayan's mind is a hurricane of pure chaos. Wasn't he supposed to be in a state of extended slumber? What happened to the so-called sleeping beauty who was never, ever supposed to awaken? Later, as a doctor examines the now-dressed Chaiwoo, he explains that it's far too early for any definitive answers. Placing a stethoscope to his ears, he cautions that Chaiwoo could slip back into that deep sleep at any moment. Watching from the corner, Ayan anxiously gnaws her nail, asking if this means he could just wake up again tomorrow. The doctor suggests the unfamiliar environment might be the trigger and turns to the patient, asking if anything specific comes to mind. After a tense moment of hesitation, Chaiwoo finally begins to speak. With a straight face, Kwon Chaiwoo calmly states that he slept with his wife last night. The doctor pauses his scribbling, repeating the words, "your wife," with a detached, professional air. But from across the room, so Ayan isn't calm at all. She whips her head around, pure panic erupting on her face. Before the doctor can even ask for clarification, she's a blur of motion, waving her arms in frantic, silent denial. Brushing aside the couple's strange dynamic, the doctor sighs, muttering that it's none of his business anyway. He delivers his final recommendation. For now, it's best if they sleep together, just to watch for anything unusual. The instruction slams into Ayan, and her heart thumps violently in her chest. The doctor's words, "sleep together," echo in her mind, pulling her down into a dark, spiraling abyss of pure, undiluted terror. As sunlight streams into the living room, so Ayan collapses onto the couch, the TV droning on about sophisticated news scams. The irony is not lost on her. With dark circles framing her exhausted eyes, she wonders if she's truly stuck with him. Just one night of sharing a bed has her at her wit's end. Her mind races with a fresh wave of panic. What if he wanders downstairs? What on earth would she tell anyone? Her imagination explodes, running through a series of increasingly ridiculous lies. He's a new tenant, an undercover agent. Heck, maybe the tree she was tending to just turned into a human. But it's no use. In a blast of pure frustration, she mentally shatters every flimsy excuse. She knows the landlady is a pro at reading people and would see right through her in a second. Defeated, Ayan slumps to the floor, overwhelmed and utterly alone, admitting she's just so tired of dealing with this nightmare by herself. But calling for help isn't an option. A dark memory surfaces of an imposing figure holding a contract, his voice a low threat. If the contents were ever revealed, she'd be marked as an accomplice. The news report on scams continues its cheerful advice, explaining how criminals isolate their victims to cloud their judgment. It's a cruel parallel to her own life. She can't drag her friend Chuja into this terrifying mess. Finally breaking, she spills everything. Standing outside her arbor center, her friend absolutely loses it, her voice a shriek of disbelief. She lays out the whole insane story. Ayan witnessed a man being left unconscious, only for the perpetrator to get seriously injured himself while coming after her. And instead of calling the cops, Ayan brought the dangerous man home and is now pretending to be his wife. After spilling the entire insane story, a huge weight lifts from So Ayan's shoulders. The confession was a much-needed reality check, and for a moment, she feels a wave of relief. But her friend absolutely erupts, unleashing a verbal smackdown and imagining herself landing a flurry of blows on the foolish Ayan. She demands to know what possessed Ayan to play house with such a dangerous man. Ayan desperately explains that he came right at her after waking up. The lie was a split-second survival instinct, but her friend isn't buying it. She roars that calling him her husband isn't a get-out-of-jail-free card. Like it or not, she started a relationship. Ayan wails in denial, insisting he's the attacker and she's the victim. As her friend washes her hands of the whole mess, Ayan's shoulders slump. Just as she explains he's at rehab and should be back any minute, a chillingly familiar voice calls her name from behind. Ayan's entire body jolts, pure terror freezing her in place. Whipping around, Ayan finds herself face-to-face not with the man who haunts her nightmares, but with the building's landlady, Ms. Guy. But the relief is short-lived as her friend frantically points behind the older woman. There, standing silently at the top of the stairs, is Kwon Hyeon-jin himself. Before Ayan can even sputter a warning, Ms. Guy's entire demeanor shifts. With a dramatic flourish, she throws her arms open and proudly greets him as her dear son-in-law, leaving Ayan utterly floored. Later, inside the quiet arbor center, Chaiwoo coolly observes his surroundings. After confirming Ayan is a tree doctor, he pins her with an unervingly direct gaze and asks what kind of work he used to do. Ayan completely freezes, the sweat beading on her forehead. Backed into a corner, Ayan blurts out the first lie that comes to mind, stammering that he used to plant flowers at the center. But Ms. Guy jumps in with her own wild theory, adding that he wasn't just planting flowers, he was putting people in the ground up on the mountains. She eyes him with deep suspicion. Something feels off, though she admits his features have a strangely regal quality. The tension skyrockets when Chaiwoo innocently calls the landlady mother and asks to sit by Ayan. As a terrifying image of his former self flashes through her mind, Ayan completely freezes. Seeing her panic, Ms. Guy commits to the act, deciding that playing along is the only way to prevent a total disaster. Ayan, however, finally snaps, frantically explaining that Ms. Guy is just a close family friend. With his gaze locked on Ayan, Kwon Hyeon-jin presses on, asking if Ms. Guy is an important person to her. When Ayan cautiously agrees, he immediately decides that the landlady is someone he must impress. Ayan scrambles to stop him, but it's too late. Chaiwoo turns directly to Ms. Guy and offers a sincere apology, once again calling her mother and leaving Ayan utterly stunned. He calmly explains that he is determined to become the kind and polite man Ayan remembers. Playing her part flawlessly, Ms. Guy reassures him that he always was. Chaiwoo vows that it may take time, but then adds a bone-chilling remark. The doctor, he mentions, said that people tend to return to their true selves after healing. The words hang in the air, and a jolt of pure dread courses through Ayan. Trying to diffuse the terrifying tension, Ayan forces a shaky smile. She tells him to take his time and not to worry, gently calling him by his first name. But the casual word shatters the fragile peace. Chaiwoo suddenly leans forward, his intense gaze making her flinch and shudder. He points out that she sometimes calls him Mr. Kwon, and he wants her to stop. With unnerving focus, he explains that he's a simple guy with only one thing on his mind: her face. He confesses that his only memory is of the woman he now knows is his wife. As his bandaged fingers gently brush against her cheek, a jolt shoots through her. He looks directly into her eyes, his voice low and laced with a veiled threat. If he were to lose even that single memory, he warns, he might just become a bad husband. As his fingers graze her skin, Ayan's heart hammers against her ribs. She desperately tells herself it's only because she's afraid, because his touch is so chillingly cold. Her mind flashes with horrifying possibilities, imagining him concealing a sharp object, ready to bring her to a grim end. That has to be the reason for her body's traitorous reaction. She can only stammer a weak agreement, trying to convince herself it's pure terror. But across the room, Ms. Guy watches the tense exchange with narrowed eyes. This is no simple amnesiac. There's a dangerous intensity coiled within him, and she realizes with a jolt that they've invited a serious threat into their lives. With a grim expression, she lifts her phone. First things first, she decides, it's time to start digging into who Kwon Hyeon-jin really is. Late at night, and utterly exhausted, So Ayan collapses face first onto her bed. It's been a long, draining day, and the stress is overwhelming. Keeping Kwon Hyeon-jin at a distance takes everything she has, forcing her to spin desperate lies about pulling all-nighters just to sleep alone. The memory of his innocent, confused face asking why he can't stay with her is a crushing weight. Realizing this terrifying charade is now her daily reality, the pressure becomes unbearable. She finally breaks down, sobbing silently into her pillow, unable to endure the constant fear. The doctor's ridiculous suggestion echoes in Ayan's mind. Sleep together to watch for anything unusual. She's completely baffled. Her only mission was to keep Chai-woo contained until the real threat was caught, and she refuses to let this whole mess destroy her life. She had a plan, too, a special lock to keep him confined upstairs. But that brilliant idea goes up in smoke. As the door creaks, she stares in defeat at the demolished lock, its wires sparking uselessly. Her one line of defense is already in pieces, thanks to him. And just when Ayan thought things couldn't get worse, a series of strained breaths draws her to his door. Peeking through the crack, her stomach plummets. Kwon Hyeon-jin is on the floor, pushing himself up with raw, terrifying power. He was completely unresponsive just days ago. Ayan shudders, her mind reeling. How is he already doing push-ups like nothing happened? The helpless patient she was meant to watch over is gone, replaced by a powerhouse whose formidable strength is returning at an impossibly fast rate. Ayan's mind races with paranoia. She knows she can't let her guard down. Beneath the blank slate is the same ominous figure who once dealt with his targets permanently, all with a bone-chilling smile. Huddled in fear, she wonders if her flimsy lie would even matter if that monster truly woke up. Begging him to stay put, she tries to force herself to sleep, but a sharp knock echoes at her door. Her eyes snap open in pure terror as a spectral presence looms just outside, his chilling voice calling her name. Chaewoo's voice commands her to open the door as the handle rattles furiously. Paralyzed with fear, Ayan begs him to go away, but he only calls her name again. The thuds against her door grow more insistent, and she screams for him to leave her alone. Then, an unnerving silence. The footsteps retreat, but her relief is cut short by a creak from downstairs. Ayan gasps as the front door squeaks open and slams shut. He's not giving up, he's just gone outside. The true nightmare is just beginning. A tense silence fills the room. Believing he's finally gone, Ayan cautiously slips out of bed and creeps toward the door, trying to convince herself that she's safe. But her relief is obliterated by a low voice directly behind her, mocking her assumption. Before a scream can escape, a hand clamps over her mouth as Chaewoo's menacing presence envelopes her. As she stumbles back in pure panic, his chilling words follow her. He can't track her scent from a distance and coldly commands her to come back to him. Frozen in terror, Ayan can only stammer as Chaewoo scoffs at her shock. He leans in closer, his voice a low whisper as he reveals her scent is like wet grass, a fragrance he could track even through the solid door. A horrifying realization crashes down on her. He isn't just a man, he's a true monster. She scrambles back, thudding against the door, but he's already there, blocking her path. His voice turns hauntingly possessive, declaring that without her, he doesn't even know who he is. His terrifying presence melts away, replaced by a raw, desperate vulnerability. Chai-woo admits that while he's physically fine, he feels like a ghost, even questioning if he is truly human. In a sudden frantic burst, he slams his hand against the door, scratching at the wood as he confesses his fear of losing his mind. Turning to Ayan with a pleading gaze, he begs her to tell him who he was. Any story, no matter how small, just to prove he actually existed. She listens, horrified, realizing his ragged pleas sound like a man gasping for air. Ayan realizes he's fighting an internal battle. This man, who once smashed through every door with ease, is now stopped cold by a simple bedroom door, held back by an invisible wall. The lies she desperately fed him, that he was kind, gentle, and nice, take root, coiling around him like thorny vines. They wrap around his body, smothering his true, dangerous nature. As she watches him struggle against the persona she created, a sharp pang of guilt strikes her, and she instinctively clutches her chest, horrified by the power of her own deception. A strange feeling washes over Ayan as she nervously calls his name. From the other side, the doorknob rattles as Chai-woo is startled. His voice cuts through the tension, bluntly announcing that he isn't wearing anything and has shampoo stinging his eyes. Instantly flustered, Ayan asks if this isn't the absolute worst time to discuss his past. An awkward silence hangs in the air as she stands alone in her room. Finally, with wide, bewildered eyes, she quietly agrees that yes, it probably is. From behind the door, Chai-woo agrees that it is indeed a terrible time. He announces he's going back upstairs for a shower, leaving Ayan frozen in place. A beat of silence passes before pure, unadulterated elation washes over her. She silently cheers, realizing her wild gambit paid off. She actually has him under control. Just as she's savoring her victory, his voice cuts through the door, gently telling her to take care. Her triumph evaporates as a slow, deliberate creak echoes from behind her. Her head whips around, realizing the sound isn't from the hall, but her own wardrobe. A strange sense of finality in his voice leaves Ayan deeply unsettled. That night is a waking nightmare for her, plagued by terrifying visions of the man she's forced to live with. But the next morning, she wakes to a shocking sight: Chai-woo, sleeping peacefully. Before she can process it, an older woman appears, fawning over his angelic face and flawless skin. Ayan panics, frantically trying to stop her from waking the beast. The woman simply spins around, a knowing look on her face, and tells Ayan she can be honest with her. The woman leans in, comparing their situation to a folktale and accusing Ayan of getting caught peeking while Chai-woo was bathing. Mortified, Ayan's face explodes in a blush as she vehemently denies it. She frantically shoves the woman out of the room, worried she'll wake him, but the woman just laughs, pointing out Ayan is the one making all the noise. As a full week passes, Chai-woo remains peacefully unconscious. The suffocating tension finally fades like a bad dream, and a fragile sense of normalcy allows Ayan to breathe again. With the house finally quiet, Ayan pauses on the stairs, Chai-woo's unsettling farewell echoing in her mind. His gentle, "take care," feels strangely calculated, making her wonder if he knew he was about to fall back into his slumber. Shaking off the ominous thought, she's pulled back to reality by the old woman's call from downstairs. She reassures herself that what matters is getting her life back. The simple offer of watermelon dessert even brings a genuine, relieved smile to her face. For a moment, she is truly free, or so she thought. The frantic scratching of a pencil fills the silence of the desolate room. Hunched over a desk piled high with paper, So Leon writes the same devastating sentence again and again. With each stroke, she carves her despair onto the page. I shouldn't have been born. The relentless repetition finally breaks her. A choked sob escapes her lips as tears stream down her face, staining the pages filled with her self-loathing. Her small frame trembles before she collapses onto her work, utterly consumed by anguish. A suffocating whirlwind of paper cascades down, burying a terrified, younger version of herself in an overwhelming avalanche. Her silent scream is lost as the phantom weight crushes her. Leon jolts awake with a sharp gasp, sunlight streaming into her room as birds chirp cheerfully outside. Drenched in a cold sweat, she clutches her head, the nightmare's lingering terror making her breath catch. Exhausted, she realizes it was that dream again. The morning quiet shatters as Guy Chujob bursts in, demanding to know what's wrong. Looking utterly drained, Leon quietly blames a bad dream. But her mentor's concern quickly turns to panic when Leon insists on checking the problematic ginkgo tree. Chuja begs her not to start another fight with the difficult restaurant owner, worried she'll make more enemies. Unfazed, Leon simply excuses herself to wash up. Alone in the bathroom, she leans over the sink, staring into her own exhausted eyes in the mirror, trying to force a fragile sense of normalcy. The bright morning sun does little to dispel Leon's bone-deep exhaustion. Dressed in her practical work jumpsuit and hat, she pushes open the door to a local diner, hoping for a quiet meal. The owner's welcoming smile instantly curdles upon seeing her, and he furiously orders her to leave, refusing her service. Unfazed, Leon calmly confronts him about the tree outside his establishment. She coolly lists his methods: herbicide in and 4 drip, followed by seawater, noting she could taste the salt in the soil. The man's face contorts with rage, threatening to sue her. The agitated restaurant owner aggressively gestured, demanding Leon leave his property and take their discussion outside. His face contorted with fury as he accused her of sabotaging his business, insisting the tree was his and had nothing to do with her. He loudly recalled her previous reports to the elementary school and the media, then fiercely blamed her persistent interference for his struggling establishment. Leon, her tired eyes holding his gaze, calmly affirmed she understood his frustration. Yet, when he ordered her to disappear, her quiet voice slashed through the tension. "Then who's going to help this tree?" she questioned, her gaze fixed on the ailing plant. "Most people only see a street pole, but it's alive. Humans shouldn't be the only ones to decide which lives hold value." Her voice, though quiet, trembles with a conviction rooted in her own lonely past. She explains that trees don't move. Once they put down roots, that's all the reason they need to exist. Her hands clench into tight fists as her composure finally cracks. Turning on the stunned restaurant owner, her eyes blaze with fiery intensity as she demands to know who gave him the right to decide the tree's life should be ended. Later that night, sitting alone in her dark home, she reflects on the outburst, admitting it's been years since she'd made such a scene. In the quiet of her moonlit home, Leon cradles a plant, reflecting on the peaceful week she desperately wanted. Kwon Hyeon-jin is sound asleep, just as she wished, yet the silence feels wrong. After all the recent chaos, the quiet is deafening, and she realizes she hasn't had a moment to think since he woke up. A horrifying thought strikes her, making her recoil. Frantically, she tries to convince herself it's just dopamine withdrawal from the constant adrenaline, but her wide, panicked eyes betray a deeper, terrifying realization. A faint, whimpering sound cuts through the oppressive silence of the house, startling Leon. She creeps towards Chai-woo's room, her heart pounding with a familiar dread. Peeking inside, she finds him twisting in the throes of a nightmare, his face a mask of anguish. A tear escapes his tightly shut eye as he whispers brokenly, "Just go." Leon freezes, watching in stunned silence as more tears fall. This feral, intimidating man is crying. The shocking display of vulnerability leaves her utterly breathless and reeling with confusion. As Chai-woo thrashed in the grip of a nightmare, Leon watched with grim satisfaction, assuming his dark past was finally haunting him. His actions were his karma, but his desperate, sleep-choked plea to be hidden shattered her composure. She remembered her mentor calling him a nice young man, while she had only ever seen a hunted deer. Now, as her own tears fell, he reached out from his tormented sleep to wipe her cheek, his voice a low murmur telling her not to cry. Leon froze, utterly bewildered by the impossible tenderness from this man. Leon thought back to her lonely childhood, where crying did no good and only the trees ever seemed to listen. The memory of the salty soil under the poisoned ginkgo tree resurfaced, a taste that shouldn't have been there. Looking at Chai-woo's tear-streaked face, she saw a connection. She gently wiped a tear from his cheek, wondering who had poured seawater on him. In his vulnerability, he resembled the falling tree, sparking a tiny, terrifying thought about the true reason he had woken up and why he hadn't stirred since. Leon slowly sat up in bed, a soft creak echoing as she gazed down at the sleeping Chai-woo. A familiar unease settled in her gut. Her bad feelings were usually right. "Happy birthday," she whispered, the quiet words disappearing into the night. She watched him intently, an unreadable expression on her tired features. A silent beat passed. Honestly, she thought, a tremor of disbelief. His earlier vulnerability had echoed her own hidden pain. Today was a day I wanted to cry too. Turning away, she buried her face in the pillow, a quiet moment of sorrow escaping, even as his hand found hers in a gentle, unconscious grasp. Sunlight streamed into the sterile, quiet room of the expansive estate. Kwon Hyeon-jin slowly stirred, a soft groan escaping him as his eyes fluttered open. He felt incredibly sluggish, his fallen form heavy, his mind a foggy blank slate. His gaze drifted, confused, until it landed on the sleeping form beside him. So Leon lay curled against him, her hair fanned across the pillow, one delicate hand gently resting on his. A sudden, potent realization jolted him. He stared, a blush creeping onto his face as he took in her peaceful, vulnerable expression. His thoughts coalesced around her. So Leon. She wasn't just some unfamiliar presence. She was his wife. The only face that remained in his shattered memory. Leon sometimes worried how unsettling it must be for Chai-woo to suddenly have a wife he couldn't remember. Yet, a chilling instinct told her his concern wasn't about disorientation. She knew, at a glance, his burning question, why she was his wife, why she had to be his. He couldn't tear his intense gaze away, noticing her startled expressions, her awkward smiles, a smooth ring finger devoid of marks. He registered the house's lack of wedding photos and the one door that always remained closed to him. Why? He silently grappled. Didn't she love him enough to have waited 2 years? As Leon softly stirred in her sleep, Chai-woo remained awake, his eyes fixated, a potent blend of hurt and obsessive devotion brewing. Leon stirred, a soft hum escaping her as morning light warmed her skin. Chai-woo, already awake and observing her, murmured, "Did you sleep well, Leon?" Her eyes fired open, a silent gasp of terror catching in her throat. He was awake, his gaze unnervingly soft yet intense. You woke up?" she stammered, pulling the covers closer. He sat up, his fallen form stiff, and asked how long he'd slept. "It was the 8th day yesterday," she managed. Chai-woo's expression hardened. "Now I understand clearly," he stated, making her recoil. "Leon, you have control over my mornings." A chilling smile touched his lips as he added, "My wife has been secretly looking for a chance to run away from me. So what do we do now?" From Chai-woo's perspective, Leon was his sole memory, an anchor in his shattered mind. He fixed his intense, beautiful eyes on her, his voice a low, possessive murmur that promised eternal entanglement. "I want to completely leave the night to you. I have no intention of letting you go," he declared, his chilling words echoing the predatory smile that played on his lips. With calculated certainty, he announced, "Starting today, I'll be moving rooms, Leon." Her wide, panicked eyes reflected the terrifying realization that her fragile freedom was truly gone. Leon's face flushed with alarm as Chai-woo emerged, stunning in new clothes and a fresh haircut, a makeover courtesy of Gai Chuja. He'd even charmingly called her mother-in-law, deepening Leon's panic. She realized this public outing risked too much external stimulation, potentially bringing back his violent memories. Desperate, she tried to deter him. "Kwon Chai-woo, don't you think it's better to just rest today?" His intense gaze sharpened. "Why? Are you worried I'll make a mistake?" he challenged, his quiet, "oh so," a clear sign of his rising suspicion. Leon's mind screamed for a swift excuse, knowing she was cornered. Leon's mind raced, a frantic plea echoing inside her. She needed to throw something out there to distract him. He wanted to go outside, but she knew it was too dangerous. Gai Chuja, ever observant, reinforced her warning, explaining it was especially perilous for him. Chai-woo questioned her reasoning, and Leon, flustered, struggled to articulate her true fear. She knew Chai-woo was stunningly handsome, and the thought of other people, particularly jealous men, seeing him filled her with terror. "You don't understand how scary men's possessiveness can be," she blurted out, vehemently denying him. Chai-woo simply stared, a quiet exhale escaping him as he watched her impassioned outburst. Leon, panting softly, felt a flush creep up her neck, wondering if she'd gone too far with her impassioned outburst. Chai-woo, however, seemed to absorb her words, a subtle smirk playing on his lips as he brushed his ear. "So," he murmured, his gaze intense. Am I really that pretty, that you'd want to hide me away? His direct question landed like a blow, leaving Leon stammering, utterly flustered. Guy Chuja, observing from a distance, merely tapped her foot. Chai Wu continued, his voice softer now. Well, anyway, I just want you to stay at home. Leon, trapped, realized there was no turning back. She had to lean into her lie. We're still newlyweds, after all, she thought, her grip tightening on her clipboard. Considering the accident made us pause for a while, we are still newlyweds. Chai Wu, observing Leon's flustered face as she clutched her book, declared his longing to witness the good stuff himself, a faint blush also touching his ear. He insisted she couldn't go out if he couldn't, eliciting a frustrated groan, but then swiftly reassured her. With a softened gaze, he took her hand, promising to obey her every command outside. His intense focus unnerved her. Leon stammered, bewildered by his sudden, weird compliance. Chai Wu only offered a slight, knowing smirk, leaving her speechless. Just then, Guy Chuja's cheerful voice slashed through, urging them to get going. And so, Leon's first hesitant outing with Kwon Chai Wu officially began, as he tried to take her cherished straw hat. As the tense encounter with Chai Wu concluded, Leon's heart still hammered a frantic rhythm. The weight of his possessiveness, the fragile lie of their newlywed status, pressed down on her. The Grand Hate's briefing room buzzed, a sea of suits filling the air with murmurs. Look, Evergreen's here too, a man observed, pointing. Another scoffed, she hasn't changed at all. So Leon, navigating the crowd beside the impeccably dressed Guy Chuja, tried to ignore the whispers. I don't get how a girl her age acts like some grumpy guy in his 50s, one voice drifted. How's she ever gonna get married? A chuckle followed, praising Ms. Guy for aging like fine wine, while dismissing Leon. She tightened her grip on her clipboard, a silent sigh escaping her. This is why I hate crowded places, she thought, the oppressive feeling deepening her quiet dread. Leon inwardly chafed at the constant judgment she and Guy Chuja endured in their male-dominated field. Her hand clenched, a silent frustration. Chai Wu's voice slashed through, sharp and possessive, calling her name before his fingers unexpectedly clasped hers. What are you doing? She gasped, his intense gaze locking onto hers. He leaned closer. Those people staring at you, should I silence their tongues or blind their eyes? He murmured, a chilling offer. A terrifying vision flashed. Chai Wu, a feral presence, unleashing chaos. Absolutely not. Don't you dare. Leon screamed internally, her heart pounding with the terrifying prospect of his suppressed nature erupting. Leon's frustration boiled over, her voice sharp as she declared she didn't want him ever bringing up messed up stuff again, emphasizing that it didn't sound like a joke coming from him. She demanded, Do I make myself clear? Chai Wu lowered his gaze, asking if he'd done something wrong, claiming he was just trying to be kind. Leon studied his clear, bright eyes, musing that perhaps it was just blind devotion and childlike ignorance, realizing he didn't frighten her for once. Yet, a ripple of unease returned. She told him he couldn't act like that, reminding him of his promise to only listen to her. Chai Wu's grip tightened gently on her hand, a soft, devoted smile spreading across his face as he agreed. Of course. I'll do as you say. Leon registered the sudden silence around them, then watched as heads turned, expressions shifting to open admiration. She realized with a blush, oh, I see. Chai Wu calmly observed the staring crowd, a slight smirk playing on his lips. So many people, he murmured, his intense beauty undeniably captivating. As an announcement directed everyone to a bitter briefing, Leon tentatively began to withdraw her hand from his. Well, I'll be back, then, she said, giving him a gentle push. Wait here with Ms. Guy, okay? Chai Wu's intense gaze softened. Sure, just don't take too long, Ian. Guy Chuja cheerfully urged her on. Go show them. Leon hurried off, leaving Chai Wu with his unsettling devotion. Leon navigated the bustling hall, her mind still fixated on Chai Wu's touch. A nervous flush crept up her neck as she internally rationalized, thinking, my hand's still warm. It must be his fallen form heat. The oppressive feeling of the crowd faded slightly as the Webtoon project presentation began. She learned of Korea's largest botanical garden plan for Wei Island, but boasting vast dome greenhouses and recreated rainforests. Whoa, Leon breathed, genuinely astonished by the colossal public undertaking. This project, she realized, could redefine their entire region, a grand vision unfolding before her wary eyes. The room erupted as a furious hand slammed onto the table, shattering the calm. "That doesn't make any sense," an exasperated man roared, challenging the decision to choose the bid winner through a competition. Kwon Hyeon-jin, poised at the podium, coolly asked if there was an issue, asserting that the best arborist would simply get the job. He declared that Wadham's rare specimens demanded merit, not bribery. Leon, watching intently, found herself agreeing. He wasn't wrong. Hee-suk revealed a daunting tournament, filmed for promotion, with a guaranteed 10-year deal for the victor. The crowd buzzed with astonishment, realizing the immense opportunity. A quiet determination settled over Leon as she thought, "We'll have to win this." A man declined to sign up, murmurs spreading as he cited concerns about cameras filming. "Publicity can create all sorts of problems," Leon explained to her colleagues, her voice low with underlying anxiety. "I just want to keep things low-key." The last thing she needed was for her precarious new life with Chai-woo to be exposed. Just as she thought she'd managed to avoid unwanted attention, a booming voice sliced through the air. "If it isn't Ms. So." Leon's eyes widened in dismay, recognizing Kyung-chin Cho, her former boss. His unwelcome presence immediately felt like a disruption, and then a familiar, possessive voice called out, "Hey, Ian," as Chai-woo materialized at her side. Kyung-chin Cho's favored student, Joyeon Hwang, greeted Leon with a breezy, "How's everything going?" Leon offered a clipped, "I'm fine," her unease palpable. Kyung-chin Cho chuckled, attempting to force familiarity. "You two used to get along so well." Chai-woo's hand tightened on Leon's, a silent assertion. Kyung-chin Cho smiled, adding, "Don't be a stranger, Ian." How could he smile after everything? A bitter wave of memories resurfaced. Her grueling internship, enduring disrespect to pursue her arborist dream. The true torment? Joyeon Hwang's insidious, predatory attention. Leon's thoughts spiraled back, constant footsteps, unnerving stares, and the verbal abuse that fractured her spirit. After reporting Joyeon Hwang to director Kyung-chin Cho, she was dismissed, not him. Now, Kyung-chin Cho's pleasant smile triggered a bitter fury in Leon. How dare he look so innocent after his role in her dismissal? As he addressed the group, Guy Chuja rose, exchanging a knowing wink with Leon as he smoothly approached her. Leon mused, "She's really something else." When Kyung-chin Cho then called out, "Ian," and began to reach for her, Chai-woo's possessive instinct flared. He pulled her closer, his gaze burning with a feral, protective intensity. Chai-woo embraced Leon tightly, murmuring he wasn't feeling well. His sudden closeness startled her. She realized he worried Kyung-chin Cho was someone from his forgotten past, and quickly whispered that her former senior was a stranger to him, calming him. Chai-woo held her tighter, but Kyung-chin Cho, witnessing their closeness, pointed and demanded an introduction. Leon silently shrieked in panic as Chai-woo let out a dangerous growl. Kyung-chin Cho's outrage flared, calling her name repeatedly. Feeling the escalating tension, she mustered desperate resolve. "He's the man I'm living with," she declared, the words silencing Kyung-chin Cho into stunned disbelief. Kyung-chin Cho's face contorted in disbelief as Leon's bold words echoed through the space. "He's the man I'm living with," she declared, stunning him into utter silence. His mouth hung open, eyes wide with incredulity, unable to process her sudden, drastic assertion. Elsewhere in the spacious hall, a wave of hushed whispers spread amongst the onlookers. People turned their heads, murmuring softly, their curious gazes drifting towards Leon and Chai-woo. Uncaring of the growing attention, Chai-woo held Leon close on the sofa, his beautiful eyes fixed on her, an unwavering, devoted intensity in his gaze. Leon could feel the weight of his possessive grip, a potent reminder of the dangerous new reality she'd just created. Kyung-chin Cho stared, eyes wide behind his glasses. "Ian, why you?" he stammered, his hand reaching out in disbelief as he processed her words. "You got married." Leon flinched, a wave of distress washing over her as Chai-woo tightened his protective hold, his expression a coiled intensity. She inwardly groaned, wondering why he was always so quick to seize these moments. He leaned in, his voice a low whisper against her ear. "You need to answer him." A blush stained Leon's cheeks. His hand then slid lower, pulling her flush against his formidable frame, making her shudder with a mix of fear and an unsettling awareness. "Come on," he urged softly, his possessive grip firm. "Give him a nod." Leon's heart pounded, trapped in the dangerous charade. Chai-woo's unwavering gaze pressed Leon for a response. A flush crept up her neck as she managed a shaky nod, solidifying the dangerous lie. With a chilling calm, Chai-woo declared, "Yes, I am her husband." Hyung-chin Cho staggered back, his face a contorted mask of disbelief. "Husband," he stammered, then exploded. "Unbelievable. What happened to the Ian I used to know?" Leon watched him, her expression hardening as he spewed insults, painting her as an undesirable recluse. "Yup, that's him all right," she thought, a bitter taste in her mouth. "The creep hasn't changed at all. He still thinks he knows me better than I do." Leon's unease deepened, her skin crawling with profound dread as Hyung-chin Cho offered a dismissive, "Sorry," then questioned, "But what exactly are you on about?" Leon, bewildered by his audacity, retorted, "It's been years since I got out of Dongseo. Look at me. I'm married and running my own business now. You still think I'm some intern you get to push around?" Hyung-chin Cho's face flushed crimson. I know that's not your husband," he sputtered, jabbing a finger. "I want proof, Ian. Show me your marriage certificate, cause I'm not buying it." Leon's protest fell on her lips, a troubled hum escaping as a terrifying realization settled in her wary eyes. Hyung-chin Cho's face contorted in disbelief, the weight of Chai-woo's declaration still heavy in the air. Chai-woo, seated beside Leon, suddenly fixed his gaze on Cho, a menacing intensity burning in his deep chestnut eyes. "Keep my wife's name out of your mouth," he commanded, his voice low and dangerous, "or I'm going to ensure you face dire consequences." A shiver ran down Leon's spine, a cold dread washing over her. She knew this feral side, and her panic flared. "Maybe I shouldn't have let him out just yet," she worried, as Chai-woo began to reach out. Leon gasped, eyes wide with terror, just as Cho cried out, "No. Whatever he's trying to do, no," she thought, pulling him back with desperate force, fearing his violent instincts. Chai-woo abruptly grabbed Leon's hand, declaring they had to run, pulling her from Hyung-chin Cho's bewildered protests. Outside, both were breathless. Chai-woo's intense gaze softened as he checked on her, though Leon, still reeling, claimed she was fine. Internally, her fear mounted, contemplating the near-violent outburst and the danger of his feral instincts in public. Chai-woo's shoulders slumped as he offered a quiet apology, his remorse catching Leon off guard. She mused she'd never seen him quite like that, but a chilling whisper in her mind suggested maybe she had, intensifying her dread of his violent past resurfacing. Leon's shock was evident as Chai-woo explained his intense anger. He recounted how that man wouldn't stop saying her name, making him see red. He'd struggled to control the fierce urge to permanently silence him. Leon, trembling, asked if his rage was so profound, to which he simply nodded. Internally, a cold dread solidified. He needs to be locked away. But then, Chai-woo observed a different side of her, remarking that she seemed on the verge of tears. A stark realization hit Leon. It wasn't just others. She was unknowingly stirring his dangerous instincts. So Leon understood that Kwon Chai-woo's violent tendencies flared whenever he sensed her own unease, his intense focus picking up on her discomfort. Her emotions were contagious, any hint of instability acting as a signal for him to react. Driving along the picturesque coastal road, her hand gripped the steering wheel, acknowledging that simply trying to control him wouldn't work if she couldn't master herself. Later, at the house, Guy Chuja's excited voice rang out. "You're signing up for the project?" She declared it was time to put the Dongseo group in their place. Leon, accepting a drink Chai-woo offered, expressed her reservations about the cameras. "We might not even last long enough to be on camera," Chuja brushed off. "But there's no way to know unless we give it a fired." Guy Chuja's cheerful voice slashed through the evening air, declaring it was time to raise some heck and show those bastards what they were made of. Leon, despite her nerves about being on camera, felt a fierce determination to knock Dongseo down a notch. believing this challenge would make her tougher. After the car engine rumbled and Chuja drove off, Chai-woo approached Li-yun, gently massaging her shoulder as she let out a soft sigh. "I'm sorry, Ian," he murmured, his voice laced with vulnerability. "I just feel like I haven't been much help around here." Flustered, Li-yun replied, "Oh, don't worry. We've been managing without you this whole time." A flicker of hurt darkened Chai-woo's intense eyes. "Without me? I see." Panicked by her blunder, Li-yun quickly stammered that she did, in fact, need his help. Chai-woo's face immediately brightened, his gaze alight with hopeful curiosity. "Really? What is it?" he asked. Li-yun's internal monologue spiraled, questioning why she always dug herself deeper. Chai-woo watched her, an ethereal glow around him, his intense gaze making her blush. She tried to sound optimistic, suggesting beauty was always there if one looked. A rustle of leaves preceded Chai-woo's predatory smile as he agreed. "That's not hard at all." Li-yun's unease intensified under his stare. She declared her exhaustion, needing a shower. But as she turned to leave, Chai-woo's calm voice offered, "I can help you rinse off if you're tired." Her face exploded in a furious blush, her mind screaming. Unfazed, Chai-woo simply asked, "Why are you so surprised?" "I'm your husband." Flustered, Li-yun internally screamed. She scrambled for an excuse, claiming she was raised so strictly that she wasn't used to being around men. Chai-woo tilted his head, his calm logic piercing her lie as he asked if that rule applied to her husband, too. As she insisted that marriage wasn't a free-for-all, he took a deliberate step forward, closing the space between them. Leaning down, his voice was gentle yet intense. He explained that he couldn't know what she needed unless she told him, reminding her of the painful truth. He didn't remember anything. His gaze was intense as he insisted on doing his part as her husband, questioning if his irrelevance was why she'd left him alone for a week. Li-yun's face burned, stunned by his sudden insight. Internally, she refused to fall for it, but still stammered that his offer was a bit much. Chai-woo found this strange, leaning closer to murmur that they had likely done far more close things in the past. He thoughtfully suggested that perhaps they couldn't enjoy themselves before because she was always so proper, leaving her utterly speechless. With a casual shrug, Chai-woo tells Li-yun to just be herself, even if it means being rude. Mortified, she realizes he's expertly trapped her with her own deception. His smug look confirms he won't let this go. Panicking, she decides it's better to concede a little now than face bigger demands later. Clutching her hands, she reluctantly offers that he can help scrub her back, but quickly warns him not to get any ideas. A faint, knowing smile touches his lips as he softly agrees, leaving her breathless in the tense silence. Li-yun pulled off her bra, exhaling slowly as she tried to calm her racing heart. She internally reasoned that this was merely a transactional service, akin to acupuncture. Letting him scrub her back felt like the lesser evil, certainly better than a full head-to-toe wash. Lying in bed, Chai-woo felt a deep sense of comfort, murmuring about how good the massage felt. He glanced at Li-yun, whose eyes were already heavy with sleep, and softly asked if she was getting tired. Resigned, she simply agreed. After the forced closeness of the bathroom, sharing a bed felt like a small, inevitable step. As they settled under the covers, she realized this was the first full day they'd spent together. Suddenly, a terrified shriek shattered the quiet. Li-yun bolted from the bed, and a startled Chai-woo fired up, calling her name in alarm. A terrifying thought surfaced in Li-yun's mind. She felt comfortably full, even safe. The realization was a betrayal, a sickening wave of self-disgust. What was wrong with her? This was the man who had attacked her, the terrifying presence she'd fought with a chainsaw just to survive. Overwhelmed by her own weakness, she began to strike her head, desperate to shatter the illusion. Suddenly, a hand fired out, grabbing her wrist with surprising force. Chai-woo stared down at her, his voice tight with alarm as he demanded she stop hurting herself. Chai-woo's face fell with confusion. He thought she had been relaxing, but Li-yun was panicking. It was his intense gaze, his deep voice. They were the problem. She knew she shouldn't be looking at or listening to him at all. As she turned her head away, he swiftly grabbed her wrist, his voice dropping to a low plea for her to look at him. She swatted his hand away, but her defiance only intrigued him. He mused aloud that she'd probably never made anyone truly angry before, reaching out to gently tilt her chin toward him. Before she could react, he lunged. A violent shiver racked Leon's fallen form as his teeth sank into the soft skin of her neck, ripping a shocked cry from her throat. His initial aggression softened into something possessive, a series of kisses and nibbles that made her shudder uncontrollably. Her mind reeling, she stammered his name, her hands weakly shoving at his unyielding chest. She begged him to stop, her pleas lost against her own skin, swallowed by his terrifying, feral affection. Completely bewildered, Leon gasped as Chai-woo's lips moved against her neck, a shudder racking her frame. This was different. He'd always listened when she said no before. But now, he seemed lost to a primal thirst he couldn't control, his breath hot against her skin. He knew this wasn't nearly enough to put out the fire raging inside him. As his desperate need intensified, he overpowered her slight frame, his low voice a ragged whisper demanding more. A choked sound escaped Leon's lips as his terrifying obsession completely consumed them both. A choked whisper escaped her lips, breaking the illusion she'd so carefully built. She called him Mr. Kwon. Panic seized her as one terrifying question flooded her mind. Had his memory returned? The formal name shattered Chai-woo's feral intensity, and he froze, his hands still tangled in her hair. Looking down with wide, confused eyes, he questioned his own actions. He whispered her name, his voice strained, before asking if she was the one who remembered everything. Tears streamed down her face as she met his gaze, demanding to know if this was his reason. The raw terror in Leon's eyes hits Chai-woo like a physical blow. He realizes she sees him as some kind of monster, and the thought shatters him. Covering his face in shame, he whispers her name in denial, horrified by who he must truly be. He bows his head low, apologizing profusely for losing control. Then, rising to his feet, he announces his punishment. He'll sleep in his own bed and won't wake her anymore. Stunned by his sudden withdrawal, Leon calls out for him to wait, but he's already walking out the door. Panic seizing her, Leon cried out for him to wait. Annoyed, she scrambled out of bed and rushed after him, yelling down the stairs to ask if he'd heard her. He stopped abruptly at the bottom, his back still to her as he commanded her to stay put. Confused, she stared down at him. He finally turned, his gaze intense and pained. He warned her that if he caught her scent, he wouldn't be able to stay away, his voice tight as he pleaded with her not to come any closer. A flush creeps up Leon's neck as she stands alone in the sudden silence. An idea sparks, and she bolts up the stairs, yelling for him to wait. She shouts that if he plans on being out cold for a while, he should go upstairs. But her frantic complaint is slashed short by the decisive slam of a door. Frozen on the landing, she stares in disbelief, a horrified question forming on her lips as she realizes he has just claimed her private chamber as his own. And just like that, Kwon Chai-woo had gone to sleep for the third time. As birds chirped overhead, a young boy named Quebec walked through the quiet neighborhood, his nose buried in a book about insects. He read about the desperate, sometimes sacrificial, ways males try to attract females. Elsewhere, at the Evergreen Arbor Center, Leon's mentor, Guy Chuja, burst into the office with exciting news. The announcement for the Webtoon Project tournament was finally out. Leaning over Leon's shoulder, she eagerly asked what they were being judged on. Staring at the screen, Leon quietly revealed the single criterion for the first round: pruning. Guy Chuja scoffed, questioning if all that fuss was just for simple pruning. Leon calmly revealed the catch: a 30-meter tree with no cherry pickers allowed. The older woman was stunned into silence before she erupted, grabbing her phone and ranting that it was a 10-story building. She furiously questioned if the organizers were trying to get people hurt. As Leon tried to reason that it was a test of strength and endurance, a small voice piped up from the doorway. Little Quebec declared that he totally agreed, then happily skipped away. The private chamber door slowly creaked open as little Quebec poked his head inside, his eyes widening with curiosity. Bathed in the warm morning light, Kwon Chai-woo was fast asleep. To the young boy, it was as if a wild creature had just appeared in its natural habitat. Boldly skipping forward, Quebec yanked the blanket straight off the bed. He stared down at the uncovered man, clinically observing this strange specimen, a creature with giant hands and feet, and a sharp nose sticking out right in the middle of its face. As little Quebec excitedly described the sleeping figure as a super rare shiny insect, Leon's exhaustion turned to panic. She tried to usher the boy out, warning him that the man was dangerous, but Quebec simply chirped that strong males always were. Her attempt to explain was violently slashed short by a strangled cry. In an instant, Chai-woo was awake, his hand clamped around another man's neck. His dark, possessive eyes locked onto Leon, and he growled her name, his feral instincts completely taking over. A man appeared at her door, explaining he saw a child go inside. From behind Leon, little Quebec loudly described the visitor as a strange, falling bug, horrifying her. After placating the boy with snacks and sending him inside, she turned back, coldly ordering the man to leave or she'd call the police. His composure shattered as he stammered, asking if Quebec was her son. Before she could react, his face contorted with shock and fury. He pointed an unsteady finger, his voice cracking as he demanded to know if that was why she'd run away. With a weary look, Leon corrected the frantic man, stating she didn't run off. He was the one who got her fired. He spiraled, grabbing his head in disbelief and insisting he'd tracked her every move. There was no time for her to have a child. As his desperation grew, he demanded to see her family registry. Unfazed, Leon simply dialed her phone. While he screamed her name in fury, she calmly reported an intoxicated trespasser to the police, knowing this obsessive pursuit wasn't about some sad, one-sided love story. Leon internally scoffed, realizing this pathetic man saw her as his last, easiest option. But she wasn't that weak girl anymore. After surviving harrowing ordeals and living with a dangerous man for 2 years, she was done with losers like him. Without warning, she scooped up a handful of dirt. As he stammered in shock, she coldly informed him that she had a husband now, one with a frightening temper. She added that her husband was very good with a shovel and could make sure nothing gets found, dusting her hands as she gave a final warning to disappear. The door clicked shut, leaving Jo Eun-hwang staring, completely bewildered. This wasn't the woman he knew. The Leon he targeted was a quiet loner, someone easy to control. He internally questioned if she'd grown a spine simply because he wasn't there to keep her in check. A chilling resolve hardened his features. It was his fault she was pulling away, and he would be the one to put her back on the right track. From that day forward, Jo Eun-hwang began stalking her again. Birds chirped on the power lines as a police officer called out to Leon, his voice laced with weary familiarity. He tipped his cap, recognizing her immediately and asking if it was her again. Leon's shoulders slumped, but she held her ground, insisting this was a serious problem. Running into the same man 3 times a day was no coincidence. The officer explained that since Joyeon hadn't caused any real harm, their hands were tied. Frustrated, Leon's voice rose as she asked what they were supposed to do about the single roses he left outside her door every morning. The police officer delivered a crushing blow. Her stalker, Jo Eun-hwang, had an alibi. Frustrated, Leon's desperation boiled over, her mind screaming with the certainty that he was watching her, that he had been for years. But the officer's response was chillingly dismissive, asking if it just felt like stalking. To invalidate her completely, he brought up her past, stating that a false report she'd made 2 years ago meant there was no real proof Mr. Hwang was doing anything wrong now, leaving her utterly helpless and horrified. Defeated, Leon watched the police drive away, leaving her utterly alone on the quiet street. Later, exhausted to her core, she stared into the private chamber where Chai-woo lay sleeping. Her mentor, Gai Chuja, shattered the silence with a stark warning. Leon had better be sure where she stood. With cold clarity, Gai told her that help isn't free. She had to make a choice. Either push him away for good as the dangerous man he was, or lean on him and accept everything that came with it. Gai's voice slashed through the quiet room, telling Leon to treat him like the man he was now, not who he used to be. The man was a blank slate, a different person from the one on the mountain. But in her mind, Leon couldn't escape one chilling thought. A man capable of such darkness was still that person. It was the justification she used to keep pushing him away. In her workshop, she frantically kneaded soil, realizing that this label made it easier to deceive the innocent man he'd become. Yet the second she needed protection, she used him. Leon admits to herself that she never realized she could be this selfish. It's a messed up situation, she knows, but a tear falls as she accepts a difficult truth. She trusts him to end this stalker problem. The question hangs in the air. Can she really trust the terrifying man from the mountain? No, it isn't that violent figure she trusts. The one she relies on is the stubborn, reckless man he is now, the one who stands by her without hesitation. As she stands lost in thought, the workshop door slowly creaks open. Stepping back inside, Lee-yeon sighed, realizing she'd worked straight through until nightfall. For a fleeting moment, her mind felt clear, but the peace was shattered when she saw the chaos in the darkened hallway. Her energy ran cold. Before a scream could escape her lips, a hand clamped brutally over her mouth from behind, dragging her into the shadows. A low, triumphant laugh filled the air as the stalker whispered his discovery. He knew she didn't have a husband, and now she was completely at his mercy. Kwon Chai-woo's eyes fly open as a sharp gasp escapes his lips, his fallen form jolting upright as if pulled from a horrific nightmare. Breathing heavily in the quiet room, his frantic gaze sweeps around before landing on the sleeping form beside him. A wave of profound relief washes over his features as he sees her, safe and sound. Stirred by his distress, Lee-yeon's eyes flutter open, meeting his intense, worried stare. A gentle smile touches his lips as he greets her, his voice a low, close whisper. Gazing into his red-rimmed eyes, Lee-yeon's heart stilled. The man who had been completely unresponsive just hours before was now awake, a gentle, devastating smile touching his lips. He softly asked if he could stay with her this time, adding that he could handle more punishment. A crushing wave of guilt washed over her as she recalled the past 8 days, watching him cry out from endless nightmares. She knew he was suffering in his sleep, yet she had let him face the terrible torment all alone. Sensing her distress, Chai-woo sits up, his voice laced with concern as he asks what's wrong. Curled at the edge of the bed, Lee-yeon's voice trembles as she admits she tried handling the stalker alone, even setting traps, but he keeps getting past them. Overwhelmed, she cries out that she can't do it anymore. His hand gently covers hers as he promises it will be okay. Lifting her chin, his intense gaze meets her tear-filled eyes, and he asks seriously who has been slipping past her traps, ready to take on her fear. Chai-woo's gaze softens with understanding. He realizes she's been dealing with this threat entirely on her own, and it must have been agonizing. Leaning closer, his voice a low whisper against her ear, he asks if that's why she woke him, because she needed him to do something about it. Lee-yeon freezes, certain he must despise her for being so selfish. But instead of scorn, he pulls her into a tight embrace, assuring her that she did well. He promises that her days of holding on alone are over. Now, her husband will take care of everything. Chai-woo gently pulls his hand from hers, deciding he'll go deal with the bug himself. He tells Lee-yeon to stay in bed and try to sleep, but she panics, stammering that he doesn't need to. His expression hardens as he holds her, his voice low and intense. He tells her she's far too nice for her own good, that creeps like her stalker need to be put in their place. As Lee-yeon frantically tries to explain, he leans in closer, revealing with a chilling finality that the bug has already been caught. Lee-yeon stares in confusion, asking what he means. In the yard, her question is answered. The stalker lies bound and gagged, squirming on the dirt. Chai-woo notes her thorough work with a hint of pride. Flustered, Lee-yeon explains she used pepper spray and then lightly tapped him with a shovel. But the reality was far more intense. She had swung with all her might. Instead of shock, Chai-woo's eyes soften with deep admiration as he tells her he's incredibly proud, leaving her to stammer that she just lost it. Instead of alarm, Chai-woo looks impressed, casually complimenting the professional-level knots used on their captive. Lee-yeon, flustered, tries to explain that being an arborist teaches some strange skills. With a knowing smirk, Chai-woo tells her he'll handle things from here and that she should get some rest. Panicked, she stops him, explaining she only wanted the stalker to finally believe her marriage was real. Looking him defeated in the eyes, she pleads with him not to do anything drastic. A soft, chilling chuckle escapes his lips as he promises her, of course not. Surprised by his unexpectedly normal answer, Lee-yeon's face flushes with a hint of relief. She momentarily recalls Ms. Guy's advice, that Chai-woo was a blank slate, shaped by her influence. But her hope shatters when he remarks this isn't the best place to handle the unconscious man. Panicked, she begs him to promise he won't do anything drastic. With a chillingly sweet smile, he urges her inside, promising a simple chat. As he looms over the bound stalker, the man's muffled cries are lost to the night. As Lee-yeon watched from afar, a cold dread washed over her. Chai-woo's eyes were terrifyingly calm, devoid of any emotion, as if he couldn't feel a thing. He knelt before the bound stalker, asking where he lived. When only muffled cries answered, his hand tightened on the man's jaw. Realizing the gag was in the way, he remarked that his wife must have really wanted this pest silenced. With a chilling smile, he offered to find the man's home himself, dragging the terrified figure away into the suffocating darkness of the night. The stalker's muffled cries were swallowed by the night as Chai-woo effortlessly dragged him through the dark alley. A choked grunt escaped the gagged man, his eyes wide with terror. With an unnerving calm, Chai-woo asked if he was wondering how his hideout was discovered. He explained that the very first time he stepped outside, he'd noticed the house across the street. A flashback reveals the stalker's own depraved thought, that from that vantage point, he could get a perfect, uninterrupted view into Lee-yeon's private life. With a cold, predatory grin, Chai-woo drags the bound stalker through the night. He taunts Mr. Huang, whispering that he should have hidden somewhere no one would ever look. As darkness settles in his eyes, Chai-woo adds that it's better to be thoroughly determined than a fool who gets caught off guard. He yanks the man toward a creaking door, and the stalker's muffled cries intensify with raw terror. He knows that beyond that door, his fate is sealed. As a desperate, silent plea for help fills his mind, an unknown figure watches them from the alley's shadows. As the stalker is dragged through the dark alley, his muffled cries are filled with terror. He's convinced his end is near. Suddenly, he spots a figure in the distance, a beacon of hope. To his desperate mind, the man appears like a savior sent to rescue him. He struggles frantically, trying to scream for help, certain this stranger will intervene. But the man simply walks past, opens a nearby gate, and disappears inside without a second glance. The gate clicks shut, plunging the stalker into absolute, soul-crushing despair. Panic flared in the stalker's eyes as he was dragged into the suffocating darkness, his muffled pleas useless against his captor. The heavy gate groaned shut behind him, sealing his fate with a deafening thud. Meanwhile, inside the stalker's now vacant home, the man who'd been watching stepped inside. His gaze fell upon a discarded bouquet of roses before sweeping across a room plastered with photos of Lee-yeon, a disturbing shrine of obsession. Walking past the chilling display, he dropped a bag of supplies onto a desk, settling into the eerie glow of the surveillance monitors. From the shadows, a subordinate named Bmi watched, his heart aching. It had been 2 years since he'd last seen his young master from this distance. Overwhelmed with emotion, he realized the rumors were true. Chai-woo's memory was gone, evidenced by him personally dealing with such filth. Vowing that his master's hands were too precious for such work, he decided to handle the cleanup himself. He pulled out his phone, stepping to a window and peeking through the blinds at Lee-yeon's house. "Bmi here," he reported quietly into the receiver. "Reporting in, sir." The morning light streamed into Lee-yeon's private chamber, accompanied by the cheerful chirping of birds outside. She stirred, stretching languidly in her bed, a deep yawn escaping her lips. "I haven't slept this well in a while," she mused to herself, a rare sense of peace settling over her. She couldn't even remember the last time she'd woken up in her own bed. But then, a jolt of dazed confusion fired through her. Her eyes widened slightly as the sudden realization hit her. "Wait," she thought, a growing unease coiling in her gut. "Why am I in my room?" The quiet morning suddenly felt ominous. Lee-yeon's eyes snapped open, a strange, creeping unease settling over her as fragments of a distorted reflection, a watchful eye, a desolate room, danced at the edge of her consciousness. A sudden, visceral memory hit her, and she let out a raw, terrified scream. Meanwhile, in the bright kitchen, Chai-woo meticulously trimmed green stalks with shears, the gentle clipping sound a stark contrast to Lee-yeon's inner turmoil. He was arranging a magnificent bouquet when a distant rattling, then Lee-yeon's panicked cry, "Mr. Kwon," pierced the air. He turned slowly, a soft, almost tender smile gracing his lips. "Oh, Sleep well, Ian? He asked, his gaze settling on her, bouquet clutched to his broad chest, his devotion both beautiful and deeply unsettling. Leon felt the suffocating dread of the past week finally begin to lift. Across the room, Kwon Hyeon-jin meticulously arranged flowers, declaring his intent to resume his pre-coma life as soon as possible. Leon's heart ached with a disquieting mix of relief and guilt, finding it agonizing to witness his innocent trust, especially after the closeness of the previous night. He then offered to style her hair, noting she looked a bit disheveled. Mortified, she stammered, asking if she looked that rough. His hands swiftly found her hair, gently tugging her into a close embrace as he softly confessed his simple longing to touch it. She stood utterly breathless, caught in his sudden, tender grip. Kwon Hyeon-jin's fingers delicately brushed Leon's ear, making her gasp and freeze as a blush bloomed across her cheeks. He offered a soft, almost imperceptible smile as he gently gathered her long, dark hair, his touch surprisingly tender. As his powerful hands expertly wove through the strands, Leon was lost in the warmth, a fleeting, almost dreamlike vision of a woman braiding a child's hair shimmering in her mind. But the fragile moment shattered when Chai-woo whispered, "Joyeon Hwang won't be a problem anymore." A jolt of terror coursed through Leon. His words held a chilling promise, reminding her of the dangerous man behind the devoted facade. Chai-woo's skillful fingers pulled and twisted Leon's hair into a neat ponytail, reassuring her she was safe now. She quietly assented. With a soft hum, he finished, then met her gaze, declaring her very pretty. Leon's cheeks flushed crimson, stammering if he truly meant her. Chai-woo leaned closer, his smile shifting as he explained she didn't grasp the depth of his feelings. Her work uniform was a daily disguise, he asserted, contrasting it with her fresh vulnerability at night. That image, he confessed, stirred something profound within him, leaving Leon breathless and terrified by the raw intensity in his beautiful, predatory eyes. Leon flinched, startled by Chai-woo's intense gaze, stammering a response. He smoothly redirected, stating she must be hungry, then opened the rice cooker he'd already prepared. Her unease mounted as he asked about her afternoon, offering to help with her planned housework. "I'll help out too," he announced with an unsettlingly bright smile, leaving Leon bewildered. He tackled chores, wiping surfaces and vigorously vacuuming. Later, he pushed a heavy wheelbarrow outside, seeking her direction. As he stretched in the sunlight, his powerful form silhouetted, his beautiful eyes held a raw, predatory intensity, a chilling reflection of his obsessive devotion. Leon watched Chai-woo effortlessly hang laundry under the dappled sunlight, a faint blush warming her cheeks. It was surprisingly convenient, she admitted, not because it was him, but simply because two people made chores quicker. She couldn't shake her surprise at his natural ease with domestic tasks. Had he always been this capable, even before his memories vanished? It was difficult to reconcile this image with the dangerous figure he truly was. How much of that terrifying past still lay hidden within him, she wondered, just beneath the surface. As he stretched, the fabric billowed around his powerful frame, his quiet intensity sending a familiar, unsettling chill down her spine. Leon sighed softly, wiping her brow amidst the blossoming nature. Chai-woo watched her intently, a quiet question forming in his mind. Did she care for him with such tenderness when he was incapacitated? He longed for that gentle touch, that intense gaze, to be meant only for him. "Ian," he murmured, pulling her attention. She looked up, surprised, a faint blush dusting her cheeks. "Yes?" she replied with cautious inquiry. Without warning, he yanked a cluster of white blossoms from a nearby bush, petals fluttering down around them. Leon gasped, her eyes wide with a mix of shock and unease. As he stepped closer, an unsettling smile gracing his lips. Kwon Hyeon-jin, his eyes holding a cunning glint, asked Leon if she'd ever tried sucking on flower petals before. A flicker of alarm crossed her face as she hesitantly admitted she might have as a child. Leaning closer, Chai-woo demanded she show him how, specifying his longing to learn to lap up every petal without missing a single one. Leon's pulse quickened as he gently pushed a delicate cluster of white blossoms towards her lips. Hesitantly, she complied. As she drew back, his fingers swiftly withdrew. Her breath hitched, realizing her lips had intimately brushed his skin, sending a flush of both shock and unease through her. Leon's cheeks flushed, a surprised "what?" escaping her. Chai-woo, an unsettling smile playing on his lips, explained the petal had a little hole where the sweet stuff leaked. He suggested she slip her tongue in a little deeper to truly savor it, then commanded, "Give it a go." Offering more petals, he gently urged, "Come on, Ian." Though convinced he was toying with her, Leon hesitantly reached for one. As the petal touched her lips, Chai-woo leaned in, his fingers brushing her ear. She understood his provocative game, yet couldn't resist, her fear now intertwined with an unnerving, magnetic pull. Chai-woo, an unsettling smile gracing his lips, held out a handful of small, light green blossoms, compelling Leon to give it a go. His beautiful, intense eyes held a challenging glint as he coaxed, "Come on, Leon." A shiver of unease ran through her. Leon's brow furrowed in deep suspicion. Whatever this is, she thought, he's definitely messing with me right now. As he let the petals flutter down onto her hair, his smile remained, a silent, predatory declaration that tightened the knot of fear in her chest. Chai-woo held a delicate blossom, his hand extended towards Leon's, a silent invitation. She knew precisely what he was doing, the playful yet predatory gleam in his beautiful eyes telling her he was deliberately provoking her. Yet, a strange, unnerving magnetism held her captive, preventing her from pushing him away. As he watched, she hesitantly extended her tongue, licking the soft petals. A soft murmur escaped her lips, her face burning crimson, overwhelmed by the moment and his unwavering gaze. She internally fumed, realizing he'd been toying with her all along. "This isn't how I usually do things, okay?" she silently cried, a blush erupting on her cheeks as he simply observed her, a subtle hint of amusement in his expression. Chai-woo, his gaze locked on Leon, wondered aloud how she usually handled the delicate blossoms. A blush crept up her pale cheeks as she explained she just nibbled the edge, waiting for it to pop and the nectar to flow. He found her innocent description "sounds nice" as he passed her a fresh petal. He then withdrew it, suggesting he'd make it taste even better. With a deliberate slowness, he brought the tiny flower to his own lips, nibbling the edge, a rich red liquid appearing. He then slowly sucked the essence, his intense, beautiful eyes never leaving hers. Her breath hitched, his predatory reflection burning in her wide, terrified gaze. Chai-woo's gaze lingered, his fingers tracing a path near Leon's lips as petals drifted down around them. "Ian," he murmured, his voice a low thrum. "It's all over your mouth." Leon's eyes widened, a blush creeping up her cheeks. "I'm pretty sure it's not," she thought frantically. "He's probably toying with me again." Chai-woo offered a knowing smirk. "I know it," he said, his voice laced with amusement. "You know." A quiet intensity settled. "And yet," he continued, his eyes burning into hers. "Ian." He watched her, a predator observing his prey, as she instinctively moved to wipe her lips, caught in his unsettling, magnetic game. Chai-woo's inner voice declared he preferred to peel it open nice and slow before he went in. A sudden, jarring impact echoed as he moved with shocking speed, rushing to pin Leon. She cried out, a muffled gasp escaping her lips as she was forcefully pressed against him. His mouth descended upon hers before she could react, a deep, invasive, tender moment consuming her protests. He held her tight, deepening the embrace, and Leon's struggles became choked gasps. Wait, what's going on?" She panicked, her mind reeling. How did it even get to this? As he leaned in, completely overpowering her, a quiet, helpless sound was all she could manage. Leon's mind reeled. A moment ago they'd merely been tasting flowers, yet now Chai-woo's intense presence pressed her against the door, silencing her gasps. He shifted, his touch sending shivers down her leg as his fingers intimately traced her form. A low groan escaped her lips when his grip tightened, pulling her closer still. She tried to voice a weak protest, but it was lost as his mouth descended, an all-consuming tender moment stealing her breath. Her head grew fuzzy, thoughts scattering like petals in the wind, unable to focus. In her fading consciousness, only his predatory eyes remained. Leon cried out, "No," and shoved, but Chai-woo was too powerful. He pinned her beneath him, his intense gaze searching hers. "Ian," he murmured, a question laced with possessiveness. Her heart hammered. This kind of thing. It's wrong, she thought, cheeks burning, breath hitching. She had to push him away. She desperately had to. A desperate "ah" escaped her as he lowered his head, his lips pressing against hers with a fervent intensity that stole her protests. He lifted her, her feet staggering before slipping as she frantically beat against his back, but he only pulled her tighter, a soft groan escaping him as he deepened the overwhelming tender moment. A sudden, forceful impact sent Leon tumbling onto the couch, an abrupt gasp escaping her. Chai-woo immediately consumed her mouth in a relentless tender moment, his powerful form pinning her beneath him. She struggled, her breath hitching, a frantic beat against his back as his intense devotion deepened the embrace. His lips moved with a desperate hunger, stealing her air until her head spun. When he finally pulled back, a ragged, breathless sound was all she could manage. She stared, wide-eyed and disoriented, thinking she'd almost forgotten how to breathe. Chai-woo's breath hitched as his intense gaze held Leon captive. Her mind raced, a frantic inner voice questioning what his supposed wife would say if he confessed. "I need to have her right here, right now." The world spun, and his words blurred, Korean syllables refusing to register in her overwhelmed brain. A chilling sensation washed over her. All she could manage were choked, incoherent sounds. When he leaned in closer. Her attempt to speak, "Well, fell on her lips. His predatory eyes pierced her, and he pressed against her, eliciting a sharp cry as a furious blush consumed her face. "This is bad, like really bad." So Leon's mind screamed, the illusion of a platonic connection shattering around them. A shiver ran through her as Kwon Chai-woo's intense gaze seemed to silently counter her frantic thoughts. A deep blush consumed her face. "No," he murmured. "I'll continue to be a good boy. I promise." Yet, her heart pounded, knowing this wasn't right. He leaned in, pressing a tender moment, asserting, "You're in control. I'll only go as far as you let me." She struggled, trying to push him away before it was too late, a soft gasp escaping her. "Ask me to give you everything," he whispered, a terrifying new sensation crashing through her. She was scared of being swept under if she let go even a little. Chai-woo leaned in, his gaze burning with a feral intensity as he whispered, "Forget that weak version of me. You're going to have an unforgettable time with your new man here." His heated breath ghosted over Leon, making her heart pound a frantic rhythm against her ribs. A sudden, jarring realization ripped through her panicked mind. She stared, wide-eyed and crimson-faced, at her own disheveled state. Wait a minute. Her shirt lay open, her chest exposed. What am I doing here like this? The terrifying implications of their escalating closeness crashed over her. So Leon's head spun as she frantically told herself to stay calm, her entire being consumed by a furious blush. She was so ill-equipped for this kind of overwhelming closeness. Internally, she despaired, knowing that if Chai-woo ever learned the full, ugly truth, he'd despise her. A sudden tension snapped between them as he sharply questioned, "What's that supposed to mean? My fallen form just doesn't respond." Desperately, she tried to explain their physical incompatibility, how she'd shut down, finding it painful and unsexy. Yet, with a shockingly wide, forced smile, she declared, "It's fun," as his intense eyes studied her, betraying no hint of his thoughts. Leon jolted at a soft creak, swiftly securing something before slumping down, a silent curse escaping her lips. That was close, she thought, her heart still hammering. Settling onto the couch, a deep blush spread across her face, and she let out a long, shuddering sigh. She honestly couldn't believe she'd allowed someone to get so intimately close. For so long, she'd thought she'd live her entire life untouched by such intense physical sensations, believing that part of her simply didn't exist. Now, pinching her lips, she fidgeted, a silent no echoing as she struggled with the unsettling truth of her own awakening desires. The hooting of owls outside did little to calm So Leon's racing heart. "Stuff," she thought, a furious blush rising as she remembered their earlier closeness. She'd completely forgotten. Tonight marked her return to sharing a bed with Kwon Chai-woo. How was she supposed to lie beside him as if nothing had happened after all the charged closeness? Yet, when she glanced over, He seemed utterly unfazed, calmly reading a book. He'd been intensely intense just hours ago, almost devouring her, but now he was a completely different person. Was this normal? She wondered if she was the only one feeling so incredibly awkward. Lee-yeon jolted awake, her book clattering as Chai-woo stirred beside her. His intense gaze met hers, and he questioned if her surprised reaction meant he should put his reading aside. A deep flush spread across her cheeks as he affectionately noted, "What kind of guy wouldn't drop whatever he's doing when his wife's giving him that look?" Her heart hammered. "That's not what this is," she protested, stammering about having overslept. He simply hummed, then proposed, "Okay then, let's talk. Tell me something about our past. Like our first meeting." Panic seized Lee-yeon, the terrifying memory of their initial encounter flashing, but she forced a shaky smile. We met on a mountain," she lied, the words tasting like ash. Chai-woo's mountain triggered Lee-yeon's embellished lie. She dropped something in the woods, and he'd kindly returned it. He found their classic rom-com tale charming, but her mind flashed with the terrifying reality of their first encounter, a menacing figure and a chainsaw. "It was just a tiny comb," she quickly revised. Chai-woo, his gaze intense, affirmed, "So that was our day one." Expressing gratitude for that fateful day, Lee-yeon's internal dread mounted. "If I could go back, I'd skip that day 1,000 times over," she thought, the deceit heavy. She feigned a yawn, eager to end the perilous questioning, and Chai-woo, ever devoted, offered to turn off the lights. He pulled the string, extinguishing the lamp and plunging the room into shadow. Muffled sounds of distress soon echoed from Chai-woo, a pained gasp, then a quiet sob. Lee-yeon's weary eyes snapped open in the dark. Not this again. Cradling him closer, she thought, "Now I really can't sleep." Good grief. 1 minute he was intensely demanding, the next he'd be calm, like nothing had happened. Now he was crying in his sleep too? Gently, she brushed away his tears. "What is it that hurts you this much?" she whispered, a flicker of concern piercing her fear. "Come to think of it, isn't classical music supposed to be good for sleep?" Lee-yeon stirred, restless beside Chai-woo, a quiet rustle of the sheets her only sound. Slipping out of bed, her slippers made soft steps down the hall and the staircase, heading towards a room marked CEO. The door opened with a slight flash of light as she entered. In the dimly lit study, she rummaged through the shelves, a desperate search on her face. "Maybe it's in this box?" she wondered, opening a small container with a soft click. A gasp escaped her lips as she found it. "There you are," she whispered, pulling out a Best of Cello Classic CD. Kneeling, she used her phone to look up Unaccompanied Cello Suite No. 1, Prelude, hoping the gentle melody would soothe them both. The cello's melody worked a quiet marvel, lulling Chai-woo into a deep sleep, his dreams possibly filled with the warm echoes of a woman's voice praising his playing. "You're born for this, my darling boy." Lee-yeon watched him, her eyes wide with surprise. He stopped crying, she realized, disbelief lacing her tone. Can't believe that actually worked. His breathing grew steady, a peaceful calm washing over his features. She rustled the sheets, a heavy thought forming. She once desired him incapacitated, but now she found herself hoping he slept soundly. "Sweet dreams," she whispered, then questioned, "What am I even doing?" The name, Chai-woo, settled heavily on her heart as her fingers tentatively reached for his once more. A drone whirs through the air, capturing the scene below as the first screening for the Webtoon project begins. Participants gather, faced with a daunting task, to prune a massive 30-meter tree without the aid of a boom lift. So Ian stands among her teammates as they prepare to face the experienced Green Tree Arbor Company. Her expression hardens with resolve. She clenches a gloved fist, thinking she can't be eliminated before she gets her chance to face the Donghua Institute. With a final, sharp click, she fastens her belt, ready for the ascent. So Ian finishes adjusting her gear, her focus entirely on tying in the rope. Suddenly, Kwon Chai-woo appears before her, holding the thick green cord. His golden eyes are intense as he asks if she really plans to climb the tree herself. She insists it's not dangerous, demanding he give her the rope, but he keeps it just out of her reach. Just then, an announcer calls her team to begin. Before she can react, Chai-woo wraps a firm arm around her shoulders, pulling her flush against his side. His warmth is overwhelming. "Look," he says. Ayan points defiantly at the competing green tree arborist already scaling the massive trunk. Even their director is going up, she exclaims, trying to rally her team by insisting it's just a standard job. Her confidence shatters when her own senior teammate looks down, defeated. I can't do it, he says, stunning the others. Kwon Chai-woo's voice is a low, intense rumble beside her ear. His quiet assessment of the crooked, mossy branches cuts through her resolve. His warmth radiates against her, and his simple warning to be sure makes her heart pound. Ayan's resolve hardens. She knows someone must climb that tree. Just give me the rope already, she shouts, lunging forward. Kwon Chai-woo easily holds it out of her grasp, his gaze intense. He calmly tells her she can have it back once they are home. Her frustration boils over. I'm serious, she cries, explaining the risks and her responsibility to win the bid. The air between them crackles with tension. She reaches for the rope one last time, but he swings it effortlessly behind his back, his large frame a deliberate barrier. So Ayan looks up at Kwon Chai-woo, her frustration turning to defiance. Do you really want to get in my way? She challenges. He looms over her, his sheer size casting a shadow, and his intense golden eyes narrow slightly. A sudden gasp escapes Ayan's throat as the reality of her situation crashes down on her. She had gotten too comfortable with his obedience. The illusion shatters when he finally speaks, his voice a low, simple command. No. Ayan flinches back, her hand flying to her mouth as raw fear replaces her bravado. Kwon Chai-woo's voice is soft, a stark contrast to his intimidating presence. No, Ayan, he clarifies, I wouldn't dream of getting in your way. He leans forward, his large hands expertly threading the climbing rope through her harness. A sharp click echoes as he secures the lock. He explains that his only intention was to keep her safe, that all he wanted was some reassurance. The rope tightens in his grip as he looks down, his gaze intense. Because I'm so worried. Ayan's breath catches in her throat, her heart fluttering as his words ripple through her. An announcer's voice cuts through the air, calling for the Evergreen Arbor Center. So Ayan snaps to attention, stepping forward. Here, she calls out. A colleague hands her a red chainsaw with a caution to be careful. Ayan grips the handle, her expression hardening. Don't worry. I've got this, she assures her, but her mind flashes back. She remembers this very saw, stained with dark fluid from the past. Looking back at him now, her thoughts are cold. He's the last person she should be worried about. He can keep living in the illusion she built to survive. So Ayan's resolve is set. She won't let him drag her down. Her boot finds a solid hold on the bark, and she launches into motion. In a blur of expert movement, she pulls herself up the massive tree trunk, ascending with shocking speed. Below, her colleagues watch with wide eyes, their jaws slack. How is she so fast? One of them murmurs in disbelief. As she continues her determined climb, a sense of awe spreads through the crowd. They realize with a start that she might actually win this. High in the canopy, a cold sweat breaks across Ayan's face. She's never been this far off the ground, and a paralyzing realization hits her. She is terrified of heights. Looking down, the crowd is a distant blur, and her entire body freezes. Her gloved hand begins to tremble on the rope, her limbs refusing to obey. For a moment, she's completely stuck. Then, a wave of pure determination washes over her. Her fingers clench the rope with renewed strength. She's come too far to stop now. Hang in there, she whispers, resuming her climb. I'm coming. So Ayan stretches toward a higher branch, her focus absolute. Just as she shifts her weight, her boot suddenly loses its grip on the slick, mossy bark. She hangs suspended for a split second, a look of pure confusion on her face. From the ground below, a panicked scream rips through the air. Ayan! In that instant, her world turns upside down. Gravity yanks her downward, the sky and trees blurring into a dizzying streak. Terror floods her senses as one thought consumes her mind. She's falling. The world dissolves into a monochrome blur as Ayan plummets from the tree. She braces for the impact, but her body jolts to a sudden, jarring halt. Her eyes flutter open to find Kwon Chai-woo's arm locked around her waist, his other hand gripping a thick branch. Are you okay, Ayan? He asks, his voice tight with concern. Relief quickly burns into a hot flush of anger. Have you lost your senses? She yells, her voice trembling. What were you thinking, climbing up here without a harness? He just watches her, his golden eyes unblinking. Instead of answering, Kwon Chai-woo leans in close, a faint smirk playing on his lips. The warmth of his body presses against hers, high in the swaying tree, and heat floods So Ayan's face. He whispers, his breath tickling her ear, asking if she wants to come down or see this through to the end. He says it's her call. Annoyance hardens into resolve. "I'm seeing this through," she declares, her voice firm. "I'm not quitting halfway." He simply replies, "All right, then get on my back." Kwon Hyeon-jin smirks, his gaze locked on So Ayan as he proposes a new plan. He will do the pruning, and she will tell him which branches to cut. Flustered, she protests that he doesn't have any safety gear. He dismisses her worry, leaning closer until their faces are inches apart. "If someone's going to fall," he murmurs, his voice a low rumble, "better me than you." Stunned silent, So Ayan watches as he slams his hand hard against the tree trunk. He pulls her close, his expression hardening. "Don't ever say that again," he warns. Her head whips back, eyes blazing with a mixture of fury and fear. "If something happens to you, my life might as well be over too," she yells, her voice trembling. "I'm the professional here." His intense gaze pins her in place, the space between them electric. He leans closer, his voice a low warning not to get too cocky. Then, his expression softens into a faint smirk. He murmurs an apology, promising to accept his discipline later, but tells her she just needs to hold on for now. Before So Ayan can process his words, he yanks her forward. A scream rips from her throat as he leaps into the open air, soaring from one branch to another. They land hard against the trunk. He instructs her to put her arms around his neck. "Let's go," he says, his eyes fixed ahead, while hers swirl with pure terror. So Ayan's world dissolves into a dizzying swirl of green as Kwon Hyeon-jin vaults up the massive tree with impossible grace. He launches them from branch to branch, a blur of raw power and precision. Her heart hammers against his back, a frantic rhythm against his steady warmth as she clings to him for dear life. They land softly on a thick limb high in the canopy. "We're here, Ayan," he says, his voice calm. He tells her to just point out the branches, promising to do all the cutting himself. So Ayan jolts as Kwon Hyeon-jin's voice murmurs by her ear. He reminds her that since he's the amateur, she needs to tell him what to do. His calm intensity makes her heart pound against his back. Realizing she has no choice, a heavy sigh escapes her lips as she agrees. Down below, the crowd gasps. A man points up at the impossible sight, exclaiming that they're about to start. Another onlooker questions if it's even possible to prune a tree with someone on your back. A chainsaw roars to life, its blade biting into a thick branch. The chainsaw roars to life, its vibrations running through both of their bodies. Clinging to Kwon Hyeon-jin's back, So Ayan shouts instructions over the deafening noise. "Harder. Don't stop," she urges, her face flushed with effort and the close heat between them. A bead of sweat rolls down Hyeon-jin's temple as a deep color spreads across his face. Her commands become more frantic. "Don't pull back yet. Keep pushing," she yells. His breath hitches as she presses closer, her voice dropping to a desperate murmur. "Yes, that's the spot." One last push. So Ayan's voice is strained, her breath hot against Kwon Hyeon-jin's neck. "As hard as you can," she urges. His face is a mask of intense effort, flushed and slick with sweat as he focuses everything on her command. "Pull back now," she screams at the critical moment. With a deep, guttural sound, he gives one final exertion. The massive branch cracks with a deafening snap, breaking free and plummeting through the air. Below, the crowd gasps in unison, their faces a mixture of shock and sheer amazement at the impossible sight. The air erupts with cheers from the crowd below as onlookers marvel at their teamwork. Still perched on Kwon Hyeon-jin's broad shoulders, So Ayan catches her breath, her face flushed with exhilaration. She pats his neck, her voice filled with genuine awe. "You were amazing," she exclaims, praising his strong arms and perfect precision. He turns his head slightly, his own face warm, and quietly credits her as a good teacher. Her breath hitches at his quiet intensity when he adds, "I'm looking forward to more." A soft, happy giggle escapes her as a blush deepens on her cheeks. A new green sprout emerges from a broken branch, a quiet promise that pain will pass and something stronger will grow from the wound. High above the forest, the blades of a drone spin through the air. So Ayan looks up, a soft, triumphant smile gracing her lips as a voice announces the winner of the first round, Evergreen Arbor Center. Later, nestled high in the tree's embrace, she glows with victory. Kwon Hyeon-jin leans against the trunk just above her, his gaze soft and warm as he watches her, a tranquil moment shared between them. At a bustling restaurant, An older woman animatedly tells the table how Kwon Chai-woo watched So Ayan's every move. Climbing the tree with the speed of a jaguar the second, she looked unsteady. She insists he's better than a dozen guards and offers him a drink for his efforts. Panic flashes in Ayan's eyes. She quickly objects, saying he's barely hanging on, but the woman dismisses her concern. A cold fear grips Ayan. What if the alcohol brings his real self back? Before she can argue, Chai-woo's hand darts out, snatching the bottle from the woman's grasp. Before anyone can react, So Ayan snatches the bottle from Kwon Chai-woo's hand and downs it herself. She slams the empty bottle on the table, a fiery blush spreading across her cheeks as she catches her breath. She whirls on the group, shouting that Chai-woo can't handle liquor and that his head still isn't right. As she speaks, a soft warmth blooms on Chai-woo's face. He watches her, his intense gaze softening as she fiercely declares, "So yeah, I'll just drink everything for him." His heart thuds quietly in his chest. So Ayan's senses swim in a warm, pleasant haze. She feels weightless, as if floating on a soft cloud amidst a shower of colorful light. A blissful giggle escapes her as she drifts in the happy, dreamlike space. Suddenly, Kwon Chai-woo's firm voice cuts through her reverie, telling her to hold still so she doesn't fall. The soft cloud beneath her solidifies. Ayan blinks, her cheek resting against the solid warmth of his back. This doesn't feel like a cloud, it feels like a rock. Beneath the starry sky, he walks steadily, carrying her home. A soft chuckle rumbles from Kwon Chai-woo's chest as he carries So Ayan through the night. He teases her about her dreams, noting she went all in for someone who can't handle liquor. Clinging to his back, Ayan insists she was just saving him. He asks if she really hates it that much when he drinks, and she blurts out a firm yes. He laughs, wondering if she's afraid he'll lose more brain cells. But her real fear surfaces in a silent, desperate thought. She's scared his memories might come back. Suddenly, his steps halt. The playful moment vanishes. "Ayan," he asks, his voice low and serious. "Do you wish I wouldn't get my memory back?" The light-hearted mood shatters. "Were you always afraid of me?" Kwon Chai-woo's voice is low and serious. So Ayan clings to his back and whispers, "Yeah." He presses on, asking if he ever hurt her. Her quiet, affirmative answer lands like a physical blow. His mind spirals into darkness, consumed by self-loathing for the man he must have been, a shadow who deserved to stay buried. "You should have just left me to fade away," he says, his voice strained with anguish. "Why did you have to come back for me, Ayan?" Kwon Chai-woo's pained question hangs in the night air. "What did you even see in me?" So Ayan clings to his back, her face nestled against his shoulder. "Because we are bound by a promise," she whispers, a vow he interprets as love, not the cage it truly is. A faint smile touches her lips as she muses about the fine print of their contract. He playfully pats her legs, a light gesture breaking the heavy silence. A blush warms her cheeks as she admits it wasn't always easy. But as the world dissolves into a starry sky around them, her voice is certain. Even if she could go back, she would still put her name on that paper. Kwon Chai-woo carries So Ayan, who rests peacefully against his back. He steps forward, leaving the solid ground behind as cool water splashes around his feet. Glancing back at her, a gentle warmth spreads through him. His thoughts drift to her fierce spirit, recalling how she once scaled a massive tree without hesitation. He understands now. She's the kind of person who never gives up, no matter how hopeless things seem. A soft, pained realization settles in his heart. That must be why she held on, even to a man like him. Kwon Chai-woo walks steadily through the night, carrying So Ayan on his back. Her sleepy voice drifts from his shoulder, asking if they are home. Almost there, he replies softly. Hope ignites within him. If she never intended to leave, maybe he still has a shot. His grip on her legs tightens with determination. This is his chance to fix everything. A dark, possessive smile curls his lips as he looks up at the sky, convinced that fate is finally on his side. But as dawn breaks, So Ayan winces, a sudden, throbbing pain searing through her head. Sunlight streams into an opulent room where So Ayan awakens with a pounding headache. Her mind scrambles to recall the previous night, a hazy memory of a project celebration and a bottle of soju. The sound of running water pulls her focus to the bathroom. Kwon Chai-woo is showering, a break from his usual nighttime routine that feels unsettling. A cold dread washes over her as she realizes she's wearing his shirt, not her own clothes. Her heart thunders. Did he? Before the terrifying thought fully forms, a loud rattle from the bathroom door makes her jump. Kwon Chai-woo steps out from the steam-filled bathroom, a single towel wrapped low around his hips. Water trickles down his sculpted chest and drips from his dark hair onto the floor. His intense, golden eyes find So Ian awake in bed, a small, pleased sound escaping his lips. "You're up," he says softly. He walks towards her, looming over the bed for a moment. So Ian's breath catches in her throat. A wave of heat rushes to her face as her mind screams, her knuckles turning white as she clutches the sheet. Sunlight streams into the room as Kwon Chai-woo steps towards the bed, a towel secured low around his hips. So Ian clutches the sheets, her voice trembling as she asks if she changed his clothes last night. A low chuckle escapes him, amused by her worry. He reminds her that she told him to change by himself, asking if she remembers. As he closes the distance, her mind freezes. Her gaze drifts downwards, and her eyes widen in stunned silence. His question about what he told her on the way home barely registers. Her mind is a blur, unable to process his closeness. She stammers, admitting she doesn't remember what he told her. Kwon Chai-woo leans down, his presence radiating a palpable warmth that fills the space between them. He explains that a few of his old memories came back. Her head snaps up, her voice barely a whisper as she asks what he means. His intense, golden eyes lock onto hers as a drop of water traces a path down his temple. He quietly confesses that 2 years ago, he attempted to leave this world behind. Ian freezes, her eyes widening in absolute shock. The world seems to slow as his words sink in. Ian's mind flashes back to that terrifying night in the woods. He tried to end his own existence. As he leans closer, she flinches away from the overwhelming warmth of his presence. He explains that a part of him did vanish that day, and he never wanted to wake up again. He gently takes her hand, his fingers closing around hers. "The man you married is gone," he says, his voice a low whisper. "I'm someone else now." He instructs her to discard anything from his old self. His gaze is heavy as he looks down at her. "You remarried," he states, the words hanging in the warm, still air. Kwon Chai-woo leans closer, his intensity a palpable force, declaring that he refuses to lose to the version of himself she once knew. Ian stares back, her mind racing. A slow, gentle smile curves his lips, a stark contrast to his fierce determination. Kneeling before her, he softly tells her, "You're the one who tamed me, so you'd better see it through," sealing her fate as his keeper. Sunlight streams into the quiet kitchen, the warm air thick with unspoken tension. So Ian and Kwon Chai-woo eat breakfast, the soft clatter of chopsticks the only sound breaking the silence. Ian's heart hammers against her ribs. She steals glances at him, wondering if he was serious about what he said. If his memory is returning, why isn't he asking any questions? The silence is more nerve-wracking than any interrogation. Suddenly, his intense gaze locks onto hers. "Yes?" he asks softly. Taking a shaky breath, Ian asks if he's curious about his past. He pauses, then calmly replies, "Not really." Ian presses on, her voice soft as she asks what could have brought him to such a dark place, connecting it to the tears she's seen him shed in his sleep. His golden eyes are eerily calm. "I already know," he replies, his voice low. He explains that since they share the same body, he can feel the lingering emotions. He sets his chopsticks down with a sharp clack. Rising from his seat, Kwon Chai-woo leans over the table, his large frame casting a shadow over her. He says his former self chose that path out of regret. A look of disdain twists his features. "Whoever the past me was," he sneers softly, "he was a pathetic failure." Kwon Chai-woo's face twists in revulsion. He claims that just talking about her supposed ex-husband makes him feel sick, scoffing at the man's uselessness. Then, his entire demeanor shifts. He leans across the table, his voice dropping to a low, intimate murmur. He tells her she works too hard, that she doesn't have to do everything alone anymore. The warmth from his body and the gentleness in his golden eyes send a blush creeping up her neck. She stammers, overwhelmed, but he pulls back. He remarks that people don't change that easily. Kwon Chai-woo demands to know who she's comparing him to, insisting he's a blank slate. He clutches his shirt, golden eyes burning with intensity as he asks if he truly reminds her of the man who is now gone. Flustered, Ian scratches her cheek, unable to answer. His desperation grows as he vows to become whoever she needs. He whips his head to the side, his voice raw, declaring that if he can't erase that memory from her mind, then he's less than a man. A nervous chuckle escapes Ian before she gasps, mortified. Kwon Chai-woo leans forward, his voice calm as he asks So-Ayan a question about her work. He wants to confirm the staff at the Arbor Center, explaining that if he's going to be a good husband, he needs to know who is important in her life. A brief sense of relief washes over her, and she mentions one more person, their unofficial entomologist. The relief shatters in an instant. Her eyes fly wide with sudden, cold dread. The last time their friend visited, Chai-woo was unconscious. The thought of them in the same room now is a disaster waiting to happen. Panicked, So-Ayan forces a smile and quickly explains that her friend is busy with school and hasn't dropped by lately, adding that he'll show up eventually. Kwon Chai-woo's golden eyes narrow thoughtfully, concluding this friend must be a professor. A memory flashes of the cheerful young entomologist hanging upside down, greeting her warmly, but eventually arrives in an instant. Outside, her friend hangs from a branch, coming face to face with an inverted Kwon Chai-woo who holds a perfect, powerful handstand on the grass. Their gazes lock, and the air grows thick with unspoken tension. A small boy's face appears upside down, looking at Chai-woo with wide, curious eyes. He cheerfully offers a strange greeting, calling him Ms. Ayan's official male specimen. Chai-woo, who had been balancing in a handstand, effortlessly flips through the air and lands squarely on his feet. The little boy claps his hands in awe, exclaiming how cool it was. Chai-woo looks down and asks the child who he is. The boy proudly introduces himself as Kyubake Lee from Willow Elementary. Chai-woo repeats the name, then asks what he's doing there. In response, Kyubake sets his backpack on the grass and begins to unzip it. Straining with effort, Kyubake pulls a heavy encyclopedia of animals from his backpack. Chai-woo crouches down, his intense gaze fixed on the book as the boy flips through the pages. With childish authority, Kyubake explains that male ring-tailed lemurs emit a sweet scent to attract females. He then points a finger directly at Chai-woo. That's why you smell funny right now. Chai-woo looks perplexed, wiping sweat from his brow. He insists it has nothing to do with any ring monkeys. Undeterred, Kyubake adds that younger lemurs have a better scent, dramatically declaring, "You're in big trouble." A light tap lands on Kyubake's forehead, and Chai-woo playfully ruffles the boy's hair. He calls him a funny little goofball, a smile touching his lips. But the mood changes instantly when Kyubake declares that Ms. Ayan is really popular. Chai-woo's amusement vanishes, replaced by a sharp, possessive glint in his eyes. He leans in, his voice dangerously quiet as he asks just how popular she is. The boy lists other men who visit, all with a similar scent, concluding that Chai-woo needs to try harder. The air crackles as the words land, and Chai-woo's fists clench tightly. So-Ayan calls out Kyubake's name as she steps from the house. The boy's face lights up, and he dashes across the lawn to greet her. Chai-woo picks up the boy's bag and follows, his presence radiating a quiet intensity that makes the air feel warmer. Ayan asks why he didn't call, her voice tight with concern. He explains he was just getting some pointers from the kid. Baffled, Ayan introduces Kyubake as the resident entomologist she'd told him about, trying to regain control of the strange situation. With a bright smile, Kyubake grabs Kwon Chai-woo's hand, calling him male specimen and appointing him as his new research assistant. Their hands clasp firmly, sealing the strange deal. So-Ayan watches them, completely baffled by the bizarre interaction. Later, as they drive, she tries to explain Kyubake's eccentricities. Once he's hooked on something, it's his way or nothing, she says with a nervous laugh. Chai-woo turns his intense gaze on her, his voice low and soft. He's like me. The simple words fill the cab with a sudden warmth, a possessive promise that makes her heart pound. Kwon Chai-woo's stare burns into So-Ayan's profile as she drives, the heat of his gaze suffocating in the small cab. Her hands tighten on the steering wheel. She nervously tells him to watch the road, but he calmly replies that he isn't the one driving. His unwavering focus makes her skin prickle. The light mood shatters when he leans closer, his voice a low murmur. "Ayan, I need an ID." The unexpected demand strikes her like a physical blow. Her foot slams down hard, sending the truck into a screeching, abrupt halt. So-Ayan pants, slumped over the steering wheel, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Kwon Chai-woo leans over from his seat, his voice soft with concern as he asks if she's all right. She manages a stammered reply, trying to insist she's fine, but her words catch in her throat. His hand slides slowly up her seatbelt, his fingers brushing the fabric near her shoulder. A jolt shoots through her, her heart pounding against her ribs as a deep, uncontrollable blush spreads across her face, leaving her utterly breathless. Kwon Chai-woo leans over the console, his voice a low murmur as he asks if she is truly okay. Ayan insists she's fine, but her racing heart and the deep blush spreading across her cheeks betray her words. The air in the truck grows thick and warm as his intense gaze travels from her eyes down to her lips. She whispers that he's a bit too close, her voice trembling. Instead of pulling back, he closes the final inch between them, gently pressing his lips to hers in a soft, questioning touch that steals her breath away. Kwon Chai-woo pulls back, leaving So Ayan stunned and breathless. Her face is flushed, heart hammering against her ribs as she tries to compose herself. As the truck moves along the road, she breaks the tense silence, asking why he suddenly needs an ID. "I think it's time I start looking for a job," he replies calmly. Her hands tighten on the steering wheel. He dismisses her flower planting work as something that doesn't earn money. With a soft, confident smile, he lays out his plan. He'll get a phone, open a bank account, and find real work. A single thought flashes through So Ayan's mind. She can't let him out there alone. She forces a shaky smile, suggesting his ID might be somewhere at home, though she hasn't seen it in forever. Kwon Chai-woo gives a pleased nod, his golden eyes soft as he tells her to take a look. But her real reason is far darker. If he gets an ID, she won't be able to rewrite his past. Her hand clenches into a fist in her lap. She knows how entangled her reasoning is as they drive on in silence. In the sterile office, the doctor's words make the air feel thick and warm. He confirms what Ayan already felt deep in her bones. Her very presence has a profound, measurable effect on Kwon Chai-woo's sleep. He then offers a chilling theory that sends a tremor through her, hypnotic suggestion, whispered while Chai-woo was in his coma. The doctor recalls the first peculiar phrase Chai-woo spoke upon waking, a soft, desperate plea to please don't wake up. Ayan stands frozen, her heart pounding. This strange, forced connection between them has roots far deeper than she ever imagined. The doctor's theory hangs in the air, a chilling possibility that Kwon Chai-woo's subconscious absorbed everything. Ayan's mind screams in denial, her fist tightening at her side. But memories flood her vision. Countless hours by his bedside, her hands clasped in a desperate prayer, whispering, "Please don't wake up." The realization that her wish became his first words hits her like a physical blow. As she jolts, the doctor adds one more thing. He explains the syndrome can cause aggressive outbursts, erratic behavior, and a significant increase in physical desires. The doctor asks if Chai-woo has ever shown these symptoms before. Ayan's mind screams in protest. Aggressive behavior, erratic actions, a heightened need for closeness. The doctor's words are a perfect description of her life with Kwon Chai-woo. Flashes of his possessiveness and raw intensity confirm it, leaving her feeling completely hollow inside. The doctor's voice pulls her from the daze. He explains that while others depend on medicine, Chai-woo depends solely on her. He definitely won't let go, he states grimly, adding that this situation could continue for years. The doctor's tone is somber. He tells So Ayan she will need strong determination for what comes next. His gaze drifts past her to the observation window where Kwon Chai-woo stands, still and watchful. The doctor admits that he feels for the patient most of all, explaining the crushing weight of his dependency. He will spend the rest of his life waiting for her permission for everything, even to open his eyes each morning. The thought conjures a surreal vision of a gentle Chai-woo, smiling softly. Later, as the sun sets, casting long shadows across a dirt path, Chai-woo's voice calls out her name. So Ayan walks quickly down the path, her steps hurried, but Kwon Chai-woo's voice calls for her to wait. He catches up in an instant, his hand closing over hers on the suitcase handle, stopping her cold. "Are you mad at me?" he asks, his voice low. He points out that she seems upset, even joking that she might be planning to leave him somewhere. The air crackles as he leans in, gently placing his hand on her forehead to check her temperature. As he asks if she's unwell, her mind races with a new thought. If his obsession is just a symptom, maybe she has no reason to feel so guilty. So Ayan tells herself this is a clean way out of the ridiculous mess, a reason she should be celebrating. But the thought offers no relief. Why does it feel like she is the one being punished? The question triggers a sharp, cruel memory. Kwon Ki-suk stands behind her, tapping her head again and again. "Unbelievable, Ayan So," he chides, asking if she's learned nothing after everything she has endured. His hand tightens, taking a firm hold of her hair and yanking her back. A desperate "stop it" escapes her lips. The wind rustles through the tall grass as So Ayan tries to create distance. telling Kwon Chai-woo that her work will take a long time and he should go back. He refuses to leave her side, asking if she's trying to get rid of him. Her resolve crumbles as she admits she's lost and doesn't know the way back. A soft chuckle escapes him. As the setting sun bathes them in a warm glow, he leans in, his eyes shining. "Honestly," he murmurs, "the only thing that seems to stick with me is you, Ian." The warmth of the moment evaporates as Kwon Chai-woo's gaze sharpens, his body going rigid. He urgently tells So Ian to run straight back the way they came and not to turn around. Her confusion mounts, but he suddenly changes his mind. "Actually, wait," he says, seizing her wrist. He drags her toward a thick tree, asking if she can climb. Before she can answer, he lifts her effortlessly off the ground. With a powerful heave, he throws her high into the branches, just as a massive, snarling wild boar bursts from the grass, charging directly at him. So Ian's heart pounds in her chest as she flails, clinging desperately to a high branch. The raw panic that contorted Kwon Chai-woo's face moments ago is gone, replaced by an unnerving, predatory calm. He ignores the charging beast and turns his back to her, retrieving a black case from the underbrush. A sharp click echoes as it unlocks. From her precarious perch, Ian watches in horror as he rummages inside. "Hey," she cries out, her voice thin with fear. "What do you think you're doing?" He remains focused, utterly absorbed by his task. From her precarious perch, So Ian screams that his tools are for tree care. She begs him to leave it and climb up with her, but Kwon Chai-woo ignores her pleas. His hand closes around an axe. Instead of facing the beast, he turns and swings the axe into a different tree, felling it with a heavy crack. The boar charges, kicking up a cloud of dust. "Chai-woo, watch out," Ian shrieks. But he is utterly focused, methodically scraping the trunk into a massive, sharpened spear. Her fear turns to desperate anger. "What are you doing?" she yells. "Listen to me, you fool." Ian's mind screams in frustration, berating herself. Just as the thought flashes, Kwon Chai-woo shoves the axe into the back of his jeans and softly calls her name, "Ian." He turns his back to her, the sun catching in his dark hair as his words drift through the warm air. He says there's only one reason a dog turns its back. Her eyes widen, her heart hammering against her ribs at the chilling implication. This is not the time to be acting cool. As he presents his back, Ian seizes the opportunity, spinning and breaking into a desperate sprint. Just as Ian breaks into a run, a monstrous wild boar crashes through the undergrowth, charging straight for her. In a blur of motion, Kwon Chai-woo intercepts it, launching himself into the air with a sharpened stake. He meets the beast's fury head-on, driving the point deep with a powerful impact that echoes through the trees. Ian's scream dies in her throat. A warm, dark mist sprays into the air, marking Chai-woo's impassive face. He doesn't flinch, his intense golden eyes remaining cold and steady as the creature collapses. So Ian collapses, her breath catching in her throat as tremors run through her. Scrambling into the safety of a tree's branches, her voice trembles as she asks if it's over. Covered in the dark aftermath, Kwon Chai-woo holds the beast firm as it continues to struggle against him. "No, not yet," he replies, his voice low and cold. The wild boar's eye fixes on him with a final, hateful glare. With one last surge of desperate energy, the creature lunges forward, determined to take its opponent down with it. With a final, desperate surge, the wild boar drives Kwon Chai-woo backward, slamming him against a thick tree with a sickening impact that splinters the wood. So Ian's scream rips through the forest, her voice raw with panic. "Chai-woo!" From her perch, she shouts for him to hang on, her words a frantic plea for him not to leave her. Pinned beneath the immense weight of the fallen beast, Chai-woo's head hangs low. Streaks of dark fluid mar his face as a strange, quiet warmth seems to settle over the violent scene. So Ian's trembling hands clutch the phone as she makes a desperate call to the Wildlife Rescue Center. She gasps out their location near Jungang Mountain, her plea for help cut short as her eyes widen in stunned silence. Below her, Kwon Chai-woo is on his feet. He plants a foot on the beast's head and rips a tusk from its jaw with raw power. In a swift, terrifying motion, he catches the pointed bone and brings it down in a final, decisive strike, silencing the creature for good. The world goes silent. Still on the phone, so Ian stammers that the situation is the other way around. The man is the one doing the attacking. Below, Kwon Chai-woo stands over the defeated beast, his breath coming in heavy pants. He wipes the darkness from his face with the back of his arm. The air grows thick and warm, charged with an unnerving stillness. He looks up, his dark eyes finding her in the tree. His voice is calm as he tells her she can come down now, that everything is safe. The air grows thick and warm. So Ayan remains perched in the tree, her heart hammering against her ribs. Below, Kwon Hyeon-jin takes a step closer, his body stained dark, an axe held loosely in his hand. He asks if she is okay, his voice laced with concern. Her mind screams at him to stay away. His face is more terrifying than the beast ever was. Then, a slow, brilliant smile spreads across his lips, followed by a soft laugh. The warmth of his expression is a chilling contrast to the scene, sending a shiver down her spine. It's straight up eerie, and she scrambles backward, staggering on the branch. Seeing her recoil, Kwon Hyeon-jin's smile falters. He asks what's wrong, then his eyes widen with a sudden, dreadful thought. Is she hurt? The axe clatters to the ground. He raises his hands, palms open in a gesture of peace, showing her they are empty. The dark stains on his skin are a stark contrast to his placating posture. He assures her that he has put the axe down. His voice is soft, almost a plea, as he looks up into the sprawling branches and asks So Ayan to come down to him now. In a small examination room, the snip of scissors is the only sound as a doctor finishes bandaging Kwon Hyeon-jin's shoulder. He tells Hyeon-jin he's lucky his injuries aren't worse. So Ayan sits beside him on the bed, the warmth from his skin a stark contrast to the chill running through her veins. A close call. She almost failed to fill out her husband's information, a simple task that could have exposed her entire lie. Just as the thought settles, Hyeon-jin's voice breaks the silence. Ayan. She turns, her heart skipping a beat. His eyes are serious as he asks, I've been wondering, who is that guy? So Ayan's heart lurches. That guy? She asks, before realizing he means the doctor. She quickly explains he's the same one who's been caring for him since the coma. Kwon Hyeon-jin nods, but a thoughtful silence hangs in the air, thick with heat. He looks at her, his expression turning somber with guilt, believing she must have worked herself to the bone to pay his bills. His gaze intensifies, cutting through her fragile composure. He then asks how she managed to secure a personal doctor who comes running the second she calls. Kwon Hyeon-jin sits on the edge of the bed, his bandaged torso a testament to his recent ordeal. His gaze softens with concern as he looks at So Ayan, his voice low with guilt. He tells her she must have broken her back trying to cover his medical bills. His eyes narrow slightly as he questions how she managed to get a personal doctor who would come running at a moment's notice. Ayan flinches, caught off guard by his relentless grilling. She stammers, quickly fabricating a story. Your family, she begins, explaining that his brother supported them financially, so he has nothing to worry about. Kwon Hyeon-jin's expression hardens as he repeats her words. Coming and going? All hours of the day. He leans forward, his muscular frame looming over her as he presses his hand on the bed, trapping her in the chair. The air grows thick with tension. So, you're saying that man was coming and going freely. His voice drops to a low growl. In a house where you were all alone? So Ayan flinches, stammering that he was there, too. But Hyeon-jin closes the remaining space, his intense gaze pinning her. Medical treatments, he asks, his breath warm against her cheek. Are you sure we're talking about the same doctor? So Ayan suggests calling the doctor back, her voice laced with sarcasm. Hyeon-jin lets out a heavy sigh, running a hand through his hair as he apologizes for being difficult. He explains that she seemed strangely dependent on the man. His voice hardens with resentment as he recalls being a helpless burden for 2 years while a healthy doctor was around. He leans in, his fingers gently threading through her hair as his gaze darkens with possessiveness. The very thought of another man coming and going while she was alone, he whispers, makes his blood boil. The charged atmosphere between them shatters. A loud voice cuts through the tension, and a woman rushes into the room, her bright energy completely out of place. Is the person who caught the wild boar here? She asks, her eyes landing on the bandaged Hyeon-jin. She beams, confident she's found her man. Ayan stares, stunned by the sudden intrusion. The woman snaps to attention with a friendly smile. Nice to meet you, she says, introducing herself as Dongmi-ju from the Wildlife Rescue Center's mammal team. Dongmi-ju bows deeply, thanking Hyeon-jin for handling the wild boar. She leans toward a stunned Ayan and explains that the creature was a notorious menace, responsible for taking the lives of many locals. As Dongmi speaks, Ayan instantly recognizes the look in the other woman's eyes. She is completely captivated by Hyeon-jin. Dongmi gushes, her cheeks flushed, about how impressive it is that he faced such a beast with just a stick and an axe. Calling him fascinating, she boldly asks for his phone number, leaving Ian staring blankly ahead. The request sends a jolt through So Ian, her mind scrambling to process the scene. Dongmi-ju stands before them, phone extended, a hopeful blush on her cheeks as her colleagues cheer her on from behind. It's a bold move, and Ian is frozen, watching it unfold in disbelief. A strange warmth floods her chest. Beside her, Kwon Hyeon-jin says nothing, but his gaze darkens, and his hand slowly curls into a tight, powerful fist. Breaking the silence, Ian steps in, explaining with a hesitant smile that he doesn't have a number. Domi's question slices through the thick air, asking So Ian to define her relationship with the man beside her. Ian freezes, her heart a frantic drum against her ribs. She glances at Kwon Hyeon-jin, the truth a dangerous fire she can't let escape. After a painful silence, she forces out a lie. "He's my employee." From the bed, a sharp, mocking laugh cuts loose from Hyeon-jin. Undeterred, Domi asks for a business card. Scrambling, Ian offers her own instead. Domi's face lights up as she reads it, exclaiming, "An arborist." Domi explains her rescue team sometimes damages trees, asking if she can call Ian for help. A blush warms Ian's cheeks as she eagerly agrees, her heart fluttering with unexpected excitement. Elated, Domi turns to her teasing colleagues and tells them to be quiet before they all bow deeply, apologizing for the intrusion. Just as she's about to leave, she pauses, her gaze locking on Kwon Hyeon-jin. With a confident wink, she asks him to promise to tell her his name next time, leaving Ian stunned while Hyeon-jin watches, impassive. As the rescue team leaves, So Ian marvels at Domi's unshakable confidence, a stark contrast to her own fragile state. A cold scoff shatters the quiet. "Employee." Kwon Hyeon-jin's voice is sharp with displeasure. Ian flinches as he rises from the bed, his presence a heavy weight behind her. The air grows thick with heat as he questions if that's all he is to her. He presses further, asking why she avoids his gaze, his tone dripping with possessive jealousy over her newfound familiarity with Domi. Kwon Hyeon-jin's words are a cold blade against her skin. "Even a dog deserves better treatment," he says, his voice low and dangerous. So Ian's breath hitches, her eyes flying up to meet his intense gaze, her heart pounding against her ribs. In an instant, the world shifts around her. The stifling heat of the attic vanishes, replaced by a clinical chill. She stands alone in a sterile white room, clutching her shirt as the memory floods her senses, leaving her disoriented and trembling amidst the stark emptiness of the past. The truck hums along the road, wrapped in a heavy silence. So Ian grips the steering wheel, her knuckles white. She realizes Kwon Hyeon-jin hasn't looked her in the eye even once since they left. Before, his intense gaze was a constant pressure that made her anxious, but now that it's gone, she feels strangely cast aside. When she's with him, she feels like she's drowning in emotions she can't even name. They arrive home, and he walks inside without a word. The door closes heavily behind them. Hesitantly, she calls out to him, Hyeon-jin. Kwon Hyeon-jin suddenly pulls his shirt over his head, interrupting So Ian mid-sentence. Her heart leaps into her throat as she stares at his bandaged, muscular torso. He tosses the shirt aside, his golden eyes locking onto hers. "Wash me," he says, his voice low and steady. He steps forward as she instinctively retreats, explaining that an owner should clean their pet. The air grows thick, charged with unspoken tension. He closes the distance, his presence overwhelming. "I'll do double of whatever you do to me," he promises, a smirk gracing his lips. His voice drops to a whisper, "So wash me, please." So Ian steels herself, her mind racing to find a way to cope. She pictures a dog, not a small, fluffy one, but a large, imposing black wolf. "It's just like washing a big animal," she insists internally. "Lather with shampoo, rinse with water, no difference at all." Clinging to this desperate thought, her hand tightens on the bathroom doorknob. Exactly, she thinks, a wave of false courage washing over her. We're both just mammals. What could be so different? With a loud bang, she throws the door open, her expression a mixture of terror and resolve. The warmth of the bathroom hits So Ian, and her confidence instantly evaporates. Kwon Hyeon-jin is already submerged in the tub, fully clothed, his head tilted back as water drips down his neck. Her mind screams, "This is nothing like washing an animal." She slams the door shut, her voice trembling as she points out his soaked bandages. "Why did you jump in like that?" He looks at her, his expression unreadable. "My hands hurt so much I couldn't undo the buckle," he says softly. His gaze intensifies. "Looks like you'll have to take it off for me." Kwon Chai-woo's eyes sparkle through the steam. "Won't you help me out, Ian?" he asks softly. Flustered, she thinks he's blatantly lying about his hands hurting, but his innocent plea to just get clean breaks her resolve. Fine. Fine, I said," she yells, her face burning. Resigned, so Ian kneels by the tub. The air feels thick and hot as he leans closer, his intense gaze making her heart pound. Taking a shaky breath, she reaches out, her trembling fingers finally making contact with the cold buckle at his waist. Her fumbling hand slips, brushing against something unexpected beneath the fabric. Kwon Chai-woo's voice is steady and low. "That's not it, Ian." He calmly explains her hand has strayed into forbidden territory and that she needs to aim higher. A horrified shriek escapes her as she snatches her hand back, splashing water everywhere. Mortification burns across her face. Seeing her reaction, his expression saddens. "You're always so mean to me," he murmurs. Suddenly, his wet hands grip her arms, pulling her off balance. What?" she stammers as he lifts her forward. With a huge splash, Kwon Chai-woo pulls So Ian directly into the bath with him. She lands against his chest, completely soaked as warm water drips from her hair. He laughs, holding her close. "You," she sputters, her face burning with humiliation and anger. "Are you messing with me?" She points to his strong hands holding her steady. "See? I knew you were lying about your hand hurting." Without a word, he leans in and playfully nips her cheek. So Ian freezes, a shiver running through her. Her eyes widen in disbelief as she stammers. Did you just bite me?" Kwon Chai-woo's playful expression vanishes, replaced by a chilling stillness. He accuses So Ian of messing around first, his voice low as he says she calls herself his wife, yet tries to foist him on as someone else. Her denial dies in her throat as he rises, water sloshing over the tub's edge. He leans in, trapping her against the cold tile, his body heat a stark contrast to his icy tone. His dark eyes search hers as he asks if she's always been thinking of ways to get rid of him. The steam in the bathroom feels suffocating as Kwon Chai-woo traps So Ian against the cold tile. His golden eyes burn with hurt intensity as he demands to know if she really wants him to be with another woman. Her denial is cut short by his sharp accusation that she wants to get rid of him for someone else. He scoffs at her stunned silence. Suddenly, a doctor's warning about his condition flashes through her mind. The intense possessiveness, the erratic logic, it all clicks into place. With a blush creeping up her neck, she gives a small, defeated nod. Kwon Chai-woo's gaze darkens with a sudden understanding. "Is that your answer, Ian?" he asks, his voice dangerously soft. Before she can process his question, he leans in, trapping her completely. He murmurs that before she thinks of selling him off, she should at least try him herself. So Ian flinches as his large hand gently cups her cheek, a warm blush spreading across her skin. His thumb brushes over her lower lip, silencing her. Then, he closes the small distance between them, their connection deepening as he pulls her into the bath. "That way," he whispers against her, "you can include an instruction manual." Kwon Chai-woo's eyes darken as he leans in, his voice a low murmur. He suggests that before selling him off, she should at least try him herself. His hand gently caresses So Ian's cheek, causing her to flinch. Her eyes widen in shock as his thumb slowly rubs against her lips, pressing softly. He whispers that this way, she can include an instruction manual. As he pushes her back into the water, panic seizes Ian. Her mind races, terrified that it's all happening again, just like the last time. She fears her mind will go blank. Water erupts around them as Kwon Chai-woo presses his lips to So Ian's, silencing her protest. His touch is firm, possessive, a silent declaration as he deepens their connection. "Knew it," he thinks, a satisfied murmur against her mouth. For Ian, raw panic floods her senses. The world spins as her mind screams. It's happening again. She is left breathless, trembling in his powerful embrace as he completely overwhelms her. Every gasp for air is stolen, leaving her caught in the dizzying, terrifying heat of the moment. He leans in close, his voice a low growl, declaring it's time that intruder learned what happens when you creep into a newlywed's home. He will show him exactly whose husband he is. Ian's pleas to stop are met with a cold no. Chai-woo leans in, his voice a low whisper, asking what she will give him if he stops. Her cheeks burn, but before she can refuse, the insistent beeping of the keypad outside cuts through the air. While the doctor fumbles with the lock, Ayan's panic grows with every beep. Fine, she cries out, agreeing to do one thing for him. Anything, as long as it doesn't involve physical closeness. A triumphant smirk plays on Chai-woo's lips. Just as the door clicks open, he pulls her close, sealing her desperate promise with a kiss. As their intense moment is broken, Chai-woo turns from Ayan to confront the stunned doctor standing in the doorway. With a dangerous glint in his eye, he slowly descends the stairs, his voice a low growl as he questions the man's manners. "Ever heard of knocking?" he asks, his tone dripping with disdain. Before the doctor can process the situation, Chai-woo sweeps Ayan into his arms. She lets out a sharp gasp, her face burning with humiliation. "You," she seethes, glaring at him and demanding to know how he will fix this. Still held in Kwon Chai-woo's powerful arms, so Ayan vents her humiliation. She explains that she doesn't even know the code to the house, yet the doctor, a stranger, comes and goes as he pleases. Her words land with unexpected weight. Chai-woo's playful demeanor dissolves, replaced by a quiet sorrow. He pulls her closer, his embrace tightening as he buries his face in her shoulder. His voice is low, filled with regret, as he lists all the things a husband should know but he can't remember: her birthday, their anniversary. Seeing his distress, Ayan quickly backpedals, assuring him he can learn everything again. Then start with the backdoor code, he asks, his simple request sending a jolt of pure panic through her. She doesn't know it either. Trapped by Kwon Chai-woo's intense stare, so Ayan's mind races for a distraction, something to completely throw him off. Taking a desperate gamble, she reaches out, her slender finger gently grazing his lip. The air between them grows thick and warm. He looks utterly captivated, admitting in a low voice that he's never made sounds like that before. He leans closer, asking if she wants to keep doing those things. A wave of relief washes over Ayan. Bullseye. She pushes the act further. "If you do," she says, "you've got to get better fast." Leaning close, so Ayan whispers that she needs to bandage him properly so he can recover quickly. Trying to maintain her bluff, she adds that as an arborist, she's not easily impressed by things that are hard. A sharp sound escapes Kwon Chai-woo's lips before he suddenly pulls her down onto the sofa with him. Face buried in the cushions, he mutters resentfully. In a blur of motion, he reverses their positions, pinning her beneath him. His golden eyes gleam as he beams at her, promising he'll get better very, very fast. Trapped, Ayan stammers an okay, realizing she's just jumped out of the frying pan and into a fire she started herself. A taxi speeds along the quiet coastal road at night. An injured man with crutches hobbles out, groaning that his whole body aches and wondering who the professor wants him to meet so late. He recalls his superior's warning, even watches what he says around this person. The man slides open the door to a dimly lit room and freezes. A figure in a black cap sits waiting in the shadows. A guttural scream rips from the injured man's throat. His face twists in rage as he points a trembling finger. "You," he yells. "You're the one from next door who saw me on the brink of ruin and just walked away." He slams an envelope on the table, spitting curses. The injured man's hands tremble as he pulls a document from the envelope. His eyes widen in disbelief. It's an investigation record. He stammers, remembering a promise that this was all wiped clean. The figure in the black cap rises, his voice laced with mockery as he wonders if the man truly believed his past could be erased. Suddenly, he steps forward and grabs the injured man by the collar, yanking him close. He sneers, asking why he got a medical report after his play date with the young master. Leaning in, he delivers a chilling message from Director Kwon. "Cut the crap and keep your head down." A memory surfaces of a drunken confession. Professor Cho, deeply indebted to the powerful Kwon family. The connection becomes terrifyingly clear. The director is Kwon Ki-suk, the handsome and ruthless CEO of Suguk Pharmaceutical. In a dimly lit office, Ki-suk brings a lit cigar to his lips, smoke curling around his sharp features. He exhales slowly, his gaze fixed on a photograph he holds, a picture of So-Ayan. A predatory smile touches his lips as he murmurs her name. He finds her recent decisions quite interesting, his voice laced with amusement. "If you're hearing this, you belong to the elite 1% who actually finished the story. Look, bringing these characters to life isn't just a recap, it's a marathon. Hours of editing, scripting, and late nights go into every second of this video, just to make sure you get the best experience possible. If I earned your time today, drop a like and smash that subscribe button. It's free for you, but it means the world to me. Welcome to the Manhwa Dragon family. Now, get ready, because the next chapter is going to be even wilder.